Obviously, like there's some definitely like very powerful names that are in this tournament. You think about like some of the more famous people that run this game. Like, you got your Looking Toads, and you have your Colonel Fatsos, and you have your Ohons and Beko and all that. But like this heat in particular kind of snuck up on me. We have a lot of competitors that have times that are very respectable and also very close to each other. So it's kind of, I'm not really sure what to expect out of this heat, but I think we're in for a really good watch.
I think you're absolutely right. I agree totally that everyone is evenly matched. We're going to see just how evenly matched they are as they get going. Of course, they are a bit uneven because two players on stream have opted to start with Brightman, two have opted to start with Pharaoh. It's pretty interesting that an unoptimized game like Mega Man 4 still has kind of two routes that are very close to being equal, but that's the way it is. So players have to make some decisions about what route they're going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. The routes aren't like too much of a time difference. And really, like, when it comes to players of this skill level, I think comfort is definitely more important than like going for the optimal route necessarily, because the foul route is the faster route for sure. Ooh, unfortunately, we have an early death from Slurpee, but that's okay. It's just we got 3 hours of action to come, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, the fire route is a little bit faster, probably in the neighborhood of like less than 5 seconds or something like that. But it is definitely the harder of the two routes to execute. So if you feel more comfortable doing the bright route first, by all means. Beko, who is a notable Japanese Mega Man 4 runner, also runs a bunch of other classic Mega Man games. It has one of the best times in the world, and he uses the bright first route. So really comes down to just comfortability.
Yeah, Prissy is also a well-known proponent for Team Bright first as well. So it really is a small amount of time loss for a great deal of consistency early on, which is kind of interesting in this format, actually. You might have noticed, Slurpee died and didn't reset, even though it was the first stage. The players are going to kind of be playing this first race out to kind of give us at least one race between everyone on stream, which is nice to see. And then after that, they'll be able to make, decisions whether they want to accept a death in the first stage or not. But it does get into, if your opening two stages are more consistent, you're going to get more runs out into some of the places where, some of the more difficult stuff or some of the more...
I literally have
oh,
never
nice.
gotten that.
Some of the more random stuff as well later on. So
That's amazing.
if you're out of the early game more often, you get more tries at that harder stuff and
never
more
actually
chances to
practiced
ace
this
it
myself.
and save, a lot more time than you would, going for the fair first route, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest just things that like makes this kind of like format very compelling is when you think about somebody doing their attempts on stream, trying to get a new personal best. You obviously see them reset a ton in the early game, trying to get that like the really good early stage. Whereas here, it kind of forces you into a different sort of element. Starting off with this like kind of low reset to no reset sort of thing, it puts you definitely more in a comfort zone. I feel like I definitely think like, obviously like with something like this, people are very nervous going into it. So like kind of getting that no reset run in there definitely calms your nerves and kind of gives you a little bit more confidence heading into like the actual like attempt section.
Yeah, totally agree. So the players have switched now. We've talked a little bit about these two routes, but not really exactly what it boils down to. If you go Pharaoh first, you get the balloon. That's the reasons why all the players are hitting Pharaoh at least early in their routes. The balloon is super good at traversing both vertically and horizontally. And it's really good in Brightman stage here, so you don't have to ride on these grasshoppers. There are some sequences where you can use the balloons to, like we're seeing now from Slurpee Ninja, but as you can also see, it's very risky. If you fall in those spikes, you're just dead. You got to keep taking these damage boosts to extend your usage here. This whole sequence, incredibly difficult, but it is a little bit faster.
Yeah, it is very precise, those balloon shots, on top of the incredible lag, which you're kind of seeing on Slurpee's screen. Being just slightly off, slightly too high, slightly too low on your balloons is most likely going to lead to your death. So it is a very, very hard thing to do. But it is one of the biggest time saves in the Pharaoh first route. So if you're going to be doing Pharaoh first, you kind of want to do that trick.
Antlers and Moniker are almost synced. It's like if it wasn't for the webcams and the splits, I would be worried we had the same stream capture twice for a little bit there. They're trying to stay as close as they can to Pharaoh Man while he's charging up these shots. It kind of convinces him a little bit to not do these running, jumping, throwing attacks that make him so much harder to deal with. And it looks like they both got a pretty even fight.
Yeah. Fun fact: both Moniker and Antlers have Pharaoh's weakness actually with the Bright First route, but Pharaoh's weakness, being Flash Stopper, is so slow that nobody ever actually uses it against Pharaoh. Man, it's just a waste of time.
Antlers and Moniker are very close, but also their PBs are 1 second apart, actually. So I
Yeah.
guess I shouldn't be so surprised at how close this is.
Yeah,
Here's
kind of
a
alluding to what we were mentioning earlier with five of the six runners are separated by less than a minute. It's very, very, very close between like a lot of these runners. Even our sixth runner, which we'll see later, isn't really that far off. Just a couple more minutes. So really, this is a very open bracket. You really don't know who's going to take this. Like just like in the six. Obviously, you don't have to win your heat in order to progress to the next round, but it's going to be very interesting to see who actually comes up top.
We do actually have 6 players competing in this heat. We can only fit 4 of them on screen at a time, but I can tell you Mr. Cab is a little bit into Ringman stage now and sort of across the first space part, dropping down, and Credible Star as well, just behind him. So everyone is all very close now.
Yep. So now that we are past the Pharaoh and Bright, there's really no other difference in the routes, so they all converge. So it is very easy to tell at this point who is it.
Mr. Cab being in the lead. Not too well. I guess I'm also comparing Mr. Cab's stream to the commentary viewer, which I think it's got some different sync. So maybe they're actually closer than I thought. But Mr. Cab does have the best PB by about 40 minutes over the next closest competitor. But again, like you said, it's only a minute or two between the first and sixth even in this heat. So that I don't know. It matters a little bit, I think, in terms of predicting the outcome. But with this format, 3 hours is kind of a lot of time, but it's also like kind of not. So, consistency will matter a lot here, and can definitely sort of change up who you might expect would come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, oh, unfortunately, we have a death for Moniker up against Ringman. The Ringman boss, for the most part, is pretty set. What his pattern is completely set in what he does. So you basically know what you're going to be doing. But if you're off just a little bit on your shots, generally going into the fight, you have very little health to the point where unless you got a lucky weapon or energy refill throughout the stage, you are going to be a one shot. So you have to be a little bit careful to make sure you don't like accidentally throw your shot a little bit too early or too late. Because if you do miss one shot, it kind of puts you in a little bit of a difficult position because like. Unfortunately,
Oh.
just as we're saying that happens to Great John. Yeah, unfortunately, like just being off a little bit and puts you in a late cycle, you don't really know what to expect anymore because like you don't really train for that. You just assume you're always going to get that perfect pattern. So
Slurpee Ninja gets it, catching up and kind of passing Great John here, even after that death to in Pharaoh. But we are still absolutely neck and neck between Antlers and Moniker. This is kind of crazy.
this is great. I love it.
So they're in Dustman stage. This opening sequence made a lot easier with the flash stopper. It's preventing some enemies from rising out of those pits they're just so mean. It's so easy to get knocked into those pits.
It is
Scary
indeed.
sequence.
I mean, honestly, like Dustman, like most of the stage with Dustman is, I would say it's probably the hardest robot master in the 8 from my experience. There's so much that can go wrong, like Mythical mentioned about the pits, and also the spike section with the slowly reappearing blocks there. It's a very laggy screen, so it's very easy to kind of just be a little bit off. And if you're a little bit off in that section, most likely you're falling into the spikes, and that's not good. So it is a very difficult section. And then on top of
And
that, if you see a moniker screen, you have to get through the little pusher section here.
Yeah, most of the crushers aren't too bad, but right towards the end, there's one where you get a lot less space to work with, and thankfully there's a bit of a trick that I don't think we really saw from Antlers and
Yeah.
Moniker that time, where you kind of get right next to it, you slide and shoot the ring at the same time, and it just perfectly clears out the way while also kind of lowering you underneath the crushers just long enough to slip through.
Yeah, so we can take a look at Slurpee as he's coming up to it. Basically, it involves you being on the correct pattern if you get it fast enough, like Slurpee did right there.
There it is.
So because his movement was fast enough, he was able to get to that last crusher at the appropriate time. So then he can then slide under it.
Dustman fight, a bit of RNG with how long he decides to suck, and it sucks when Dustman sucks.
Yep.
So you don't want to see it because you have to slide into him to sort of cancel it, and that's going to hurt you a lot. You take a lot of contact damage from bosses in this game. I think it's 8 health across the board. So as you can see, the health is very low on Antlers and Moniker after having to do it a couple times, and hopefully you always have the health to cancel it, because if you have to wait it out, that's another pretty big time loss.
Yeah. Generally speaking, you should have, if you play the stage right, you should have decent health. But one thing that can kind of trip players up is the last room where you have the little hopper. I don't know what the actual name is. We're gonna call him a hopper. Sometimes like you can get hit by him, and he does 8 damage as well, which can kind of put you in the danger zone. So it really depends. Just like, sometimes you're gonna have a lot of health and you can take those deboosts, and sometimes you just don't have it.
There's a zip from Antlers. If you've seen Mega Man 2 before, you know zips are all over the place. They're significantly harder to do in Mega Man 4 because the game will basically kill you if it finds you inside a wall. But using an enemy to get invincibility frames will let you execute one of these zips like we just saw. It's not much, but it's just a little something.
Yeah, this is the only place in the RTA version of the run where you'll see a zip. It's not really quite possible to execute anywhere else. Unfortunately, Slurpee was trying to do the zip and he wasn't able to and took a death. Not the worst place in the world to take a death if you're going to take a death somewhere.
He did take a death earlier though, so I start to think about game overs a little bit. Like, a small mistake can turn into a massive one if it does result in a game over.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see if maybe he got a 1-up. Maybe the 1-up gods were generous to him.
Yeah. It's interesting too because like how often when you're speedrunning this game are you worried about a game over, right? Like normally if things have gone that bad, you've reset. So it might not be a situation that Slurpee's like kind of prepared to play around.
Yeah, definitely something to factor in is the relative like experience or inexperience that players have in this game. When I think about somebody like Mr. Cat, who I believe we're trying to load up in the screen, he's
There'll
been
be
playing
a short delay for when we switch him in.
He's been running this game since as far back as 2015. So, you talk about somebody that has a lot of experience with running this game. He's probably done more than his share of low to no reset type runs. So, somebody like him, I would expect him to be prepared. Whereas, maybe somebody like Antlers, who's really only been running this game, I believe, starting this year, may not have the type of experience to be used to those no reset runs.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Cab has just defeated Skullman, a little bit behind Antlers and Moniker, who are just starting dive now. Slurpee Ninja starting the Skullman fight. He's mostly predictable, but there is a bit of randomness with particularly when he puts up his shield, how long he keeps it up for. We'll see here. All right, Not too bad. Could be bad. It could be worse, but it could be a little better.
Yeah, so the quirk about Skullman is actually all of his actions are determined by your actions itself. So if, for instance, if you were to actually enter into the fight and do absolutely nothing, he will do absolutely nothing, and he will sit there forever. So it is entirely a fight that you can control, except for the time where he puts his skull barrier up. And yes, that time is variable, as Mythical mentioned. So it can sometimes be like a quick second, sometimes it could be like 5 seconds. It just really depends.
Yeah, and 5 seconds feels like a lot more than 5 seconds. It feels like an eternity. So the players have moved on to Dive Man stage. Some of them are already out of the water section. Cab is still there. Water obviously has some different physics going on. You got the really high jumps, but one thing that's kind of not so easy to tell is that you cannot jump out of a slide. The sliding mechanics change from Mega Man to Mega Man, and this one you totally can jump out of a slide, except underwater. And so if you want to be sliding as much as possible, you need to be prepared to cancel it by pressing away from the direction you're going, and then quickly tap back the direction you were going. So it usually looks like a quick little left-right input. It really complicates things. If your jump input after the left-right is good, you're okay, but if it comes out before, you might not jump at all, and as you can see, there's a lot of spikes around.
Yep. Yeah, copious amounts of gravity, as you can see throughout the stage. This is probably one of the heaviest abuses of gravity in like any of the stages. Or sorry, gravity. What am I? It's Mega Man 5. Use of Flash Stopper in this fight.
All right, so that's a Dive Man defeated for Antlers. We're going to see it now for Moniker. They're just using the Skull Shield, which is obviously a very close range sort of weapon, so you do need to get very close to Dive Man. Thankfully, he's kind of always coming at you with these charges, and so doing these little hops will let you kind of mostly be hitting him from above, and it really helps you, land these hits without putting yourself in too much danger.
So one thing we haven't really mentioned is there's an interesting quirk about this game in the Robot Master stages is when you clear a Robot Master and you're waiting to do the whole weapon get, where like Mega Man jumps up and down and absorbs the powers, I guess, so to speak. If you are in the absolute center pixel of the room, instead of going like Mega Man goes up and then he comes down a little bit, it actually goes immediately up, which will save you like at least at least a second, I think. It's a very significant time save. And one particular thing to note in Dive Man stage, also in Pharaoh Man stage, but nobody got it. Slurpee wasn't able to get it as well. If you do jump at the right time while you are in that center pixel, and Mega Man is in the proper position, what will happen is you'll actually do the weapon get, like the little whole Mega Man absorbing the things immediately. Rather than waiting for him to jump up, and basically it skips the entirety of the cutscene. So you're saving probably like a couple seconds at least. It's a very nice thing to get. It is very doable to get in Dive Man because of the water. It allows you to jump up that high, but certainly not an easy trick. Unfortunately, nobody was able to get it, but
yeah, it's doable, but I wouldn't kind of expect people to get it. It's like a cherry on top sort of thing that you try to go for.
Yeah.
The players now are in a Drill Man stage using the Flash Stopper to prevent all of the rocks falling from the chutes to land on them. They're sliding absolutely as much as they can because the timer that ticks down for when Flash Stopper runs out doesn't tick down while you're sliding for whatever reason. So, I mean, you always want to be chaining your slides together as well as possible just to go a little bit faster, but it counts for a lot more in Drill Man stage here. You can do it in just one flash. Not that it's like a great resource cost or whatever to have to do it a second time, but it does kind of smooth things out, and it just probably feels really good to chain it all together in one go.
Yeah. Fortunately, Moniker having a little bit of a trouble here, a couple deaths in drill stage, but not to worry. We got 3 hours to go.
So Drillman, another big source of RNG. At basically any point, he can decide to dive down into the ground and be gone for about 5 seconds every time he does it, and you can't really do much about it, so you just gotta hope he doesn't do it.
That's basically it. It's very interesting with Mega Man 4. I wouldn't say the RNG is particularly dreadful, like, as a whole, but what makes the game a little bit frustrating to run at times is its RNG is very centered around like a few choke points. That's mainly Dustman, Drillman, and Square Machine. That's kind of being like the most like difficult things, and we'll get into Square Machine later on, of course. But just like having those things where like Dustman is sucking you or Drillman is like just diving. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to sit there and wait that endless amount of time. It feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's like I've talked to Crankdud, who is a Doom speedrunner, and he had like kind of a different take on randomness in that game because there was always something you could do. You could move differently, you could shoot differently, and like play around it and react to it, and that actually made it like fun. Like every run was different, and it was on you to figure out how to make it work. And this is not that RNG. This is you just hold the controller and watch while the timer ticks down. So. Yeah, certainly there's a couple spots where the players are going to be upset in that regard, but that's just what you got to live with when you run Mega Man 4.
It's true. So Adler seems to be having the best of a go of all the runners so far. He's almost towards the end of Toadman stage, which again involves copious usage of the Flash Stopper. A little bit scary there at the end, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're alive. That's all that matters.
Just wanted to pet the fish, I guess, before heading into the boss fight.
You got the difficult thing out of the way, and now we have the absolute hardest fight in any Mega Man game ever. That's Toadman, right?
Yeah, it is a very hard stage, I think, but the boss is kind of laughable, as you can see. His main attack, kind of the only, I mean, he can jump on you, I guess, but his jump is predictable. He's always going to jump where you are, so you can deal with that pretty easily by just kind of like backing up or running under. And if he's going to ever just attack you, you just kind of press the B button, and then he doesn't get to do it. So it's just not much of a threat.
I believe we have 19-13 according to Antler's splits going up, and getting the weapon get on Toad, which is honestly a really solid time for your Robot Masters, especially for his PB. If I may even be bold to say, he could potentially be on PB pace. Could.
Oh man, you can't just say it like that.
Gotta, all right, I
He
gotta
might
be
be
that
listening. Oh no. All right, well let's see if we can cancel that by not talking about his pace whatsoever for the remainder of the run. Everyone else is still, they're all really close together, even after the 8 robots, which is really cool to see. We got Cossack 1 being started though. I think Antlers is in the lead. I can try to, it's hard to tell with the stream delay, but I can take a peek at some of the other runners. Cossack 1 is icy, and it also has a very difficult vertical section towards the end of the stage. So I think the difficulty, it's safe to say, starts to ramp up a little bit in the back half.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tricky parts about Cossack 1 stage. As Myth alluded to, the first screen having a lot of ice in it. And then, like, just coming into, like, this section that you see Antlers on right now, you have to, like, shoot these little skull boys, whatever their name actually is, down, and you have to make sure that you also are sliding appropriately, because, you know, just being a little bit off, you're probably going to end up sliding into a pit, unfortunately. But so far, so good. And now we go into the balloon section that Antlers is in. And again, one balloon off, like you're just a little bit off, you're going to end up falling all the way down. And it's really problematic because your balloon ammo usage throughout the entirety of the Cossack and Wily stages is actually very tight. So you don't really want to waste any balloon if you can help it.
Antlers is through. Took it, I mean, like, using the balloons like that it looks pretty aggressive, but there are actually some more aggressive ways you can approach that area, incorporating some damage boosts and some other things. I don't expect much people in the tournament at all to even go for that. So I am not surprised at all to see this much safer. Oh no, actually we're seeing a damage boost from Cab, and okay, it looked like the thing opened up for him anyway though, so.
That just felt weird on that last screen.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky there, because, yeah, if you take that damage boost the wrong way, it puts you in a really tricky spot, because you're a lot farther away from the ladder than you intend to be. And it's a big trap for a lot of runners if they end up deboosting the wrong way.
Couple Mothra fights here. Krebelstar on stream for the first time. They're a bit frozen for a bit, but they'll catch up after the buffer sort of fills in, and we'll see just where they line up with some of the other runners. Cab just finishing off Mothra. The hitbox on this thing, it's a bit mysterious. I guess it's actually the rings hitbox, which is the mysterious part.
It is like that circle that you do see, but it's also like, it's just, I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, you bring up a great point. It's weird. You just want to being at like the peak of your jump, like when he's like at its highest point, is generally going to be okay. But otherwise, yeah, you don't want to jump too low. That's really what it comes down to.
Also, the rings hitbox is it's a single pixel, so it looks like it should be like a pretty big, 16 by 16 square or whatever, but it's not. So hitting a small hitbox with an even smaller one is pretty difficult at times. Looks like some of these players were able to defeat the boss without too much trouble, but Antlers died in Cossack 2 here, so it's actually neck and neck with Cab now on the right side of the screen. Oh, where was the balloon? It didn't come out.
Unfortunate. Listen, I just want to stay for the record. I didn't curse anything.
All right, Antlers, let's go. Now neck and neck with Krebelstar, actually. So we've got a diagonal sort of race that can be fun to watch. And Slurpy Ninja also right there with them. Cab pulling into the lead a little bit here.
Yeah, seems to have a clean section. Definitely the first half of the stage is the hardest part. Getting through, this screen isn't too bad, so once you're basically on the screen, it's a little bit easier to manage. But the tricky part is going to Square Machine. You have very low health, as you can see on this Cap screen. That's actually a little bit higher than usual. So you don't want to get hit. Fortunately, it's not likely you'll get hit by Square Machine, but it certainly is possible.
And there's actually menuing to Rush Jet, which is, like, it's really not that, the act of riding Rush Jet over isn't really all that much slower than the balloons for sure, but getting into the menu twice is a lot of time. It doesn't seem like it might be a lot, but with the fade in and the fade out of the menu, it adds up actually quite a bit.
Just looking at Cap screen, Square Machine is very random, as we alluded to before. You see right there, it just went super fast past the Cap screen. So that is the worst pattern that you can get. So basically, that means Square is going to be doing the 3 rotations before he comes back, and obviously you can only hit him when he is when you're in his square. So the best pattern, of course, is to get the 1-1. Unfortunately, Cab was not able to kill him in that phase. Generally, most runners are supposed to be killing him in that second phase, but it's okay, because Cab got a 1 cycle for the 3rd phase, so he didn't lose too much time.
everyone now. Square machines all over the place. I think this is the first time I've been watching most of the heats that I've seen all 4 runners in the square machine at the same time.
Yeah.
We'll see what kind of luck they all get. Looks like a 2 here for Krebel Star second time around. 3 for Ninja and 2 for Antlers.
Right, left, jump, jump.
Can't believe I just called Slurpee Ninja just Ninja. Like, who says that? No one says that.
Mr.
It's
Ninja.
Slurpee. Yes. Please, Mr. Ninja is my father. Call me Slurpee. All right, we're into the auto-scroller, and everyone is into the auto-scroller, so we can't focus on what anyone else is doing to talk about that instead. So just listen to the music, I guess.
I mean, I agree. Music is really good.
All right, music time is over. I can't, as a commentator, I can't in good conscience
Aw.
just leave dead air. I can talk about this little validation sequence the runners are doing. This little dance that they're doing at the start of the auto-scroller is a sort of cheating preventative measure. It lets us know that these runs are being done live because the players were told to, in this case, it's like Buster right, left, and then jump, jump, or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember, but
I think that's right.
yeah, so all the runners are going to be doing that on this first screen in Cossack here. It doesn't, it's not going to save or lose you any time, and it's I don't know, it's a good idea.
Yeah. I guess while we have a minute, I can talk about some of the PBs we have between our competitors. We were alluding to how close it is between the 6 runners. So we do have Slurpee in the top left. He has a 39.59, and he actually just got that this morning. So pretty recent PB. We have Great John, or excuse me, we'll go with Antlers. We'll go who's on screen first. So Antlers is a 39.45, and he's been running this game since November 2019, according to Mega Man leaderboards. Krebel Star is on the bottom left, has a 40.22. Actually started with a 53-minute time in October of 2019, so he's brought that down quite a bit in these last like 8 or 9 months.
His PB is actually from yesterday.
Oh wow, there we go. So working hard at it. And then Mr. Cab has a 39.05, the best of the bunch. And he has actually been running this game, as I mentioned, since late 2015. So he is no stranger to this game.
Slurpee's quite new to this game. He's obviously been a Mega Man 9 superstar for a long time, but has decided to pick up Mega Man 4 and is here in the tournament. Mr. Cab, the first one into the cockroach fight here. Really interesting, actually triple hit with the Pharaoh shot. We've talked a little bit about how you can sort of hit enemies with the hitbox above your head while it's charging and then throw it and hit them again. But you can hit him with the one above you, throw it, kill him with it, and then it will continue diagonally into the bottom right corner and then hit the one that just comes out there. And it's one of my favorite strats in this game, I think. There it is for Credible. Nice.
Unfortunately, Slurpee was a little bit off with his shots, so now he's gonna miss the double hit. He's gonna be a little bit low on Pharaoh ammo, which is okay because generally in a no reset setting, they will opt to get a safety refill to make sure you have enough refill ammo for the rest of the stages. But he did unfortunately take a little bit extra time on that fight. That's okay.
And Antlers, I missed it, but I guess they must have died to the cockroach because we're back in the auto scroller here.
Oh no!
I was watching Slurpee just as you pointed that out. That's a shame. The Cossack stages, there is no sort of boss corridor checkpoint, so it hurts a lot to die to the bosses in the back half of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Krebel, I think I said Credible earlier, and I apologize. Krebel Star is with Mr. Cab in Cossack 4 here. There's 2 paths. One of them is a good deal faster, but requires you to use some of your various techniques to get some height. Looks like I was with Rest Jet. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing, but we're going for Coil here, which is a lot easier to use than the balloon to get up to this. I was going to say higher path, but you need to go up, but then it goes down. It's the lower path.
We'll go with that. The tricky thing about that trick, you saw them coil there, is if they do get the coil wrong, which is very easy to do because it's a tight window to put that rush coil there, they probably have to reset the screen because by the time the bats come, you can no longer get up there with rush coil. So it is very important to nail that trick first try.
Mr. Cab got grabbed by the UFO catcher here, the boss of the Cossack stages, Dr. Cossack himself. I don't know why he thought this goofy crane game was the way to get Mega Man, but I guess it was effective this one time on Mr. Cab.
Yeah, so you see Cab is actually basically manipulating the fight. If you do slide against the end of the screen on the right, it basically stops the catcher from grabbing you. So by alternating the sliding on the right side of the screen
God,
with
it's
firing
Wily!
busters, you should never get hit.
I'm not sure which whose player. I guess it was Cab's audio we had there. Can you believe that it was Dr. Wily all along?
Oh, I can't. What has
That
Wily
guy.
ever done that was wrong?
Hashtag Wily did nothing wrong. All right, we get it. We are moving on to the last set of stages here. Mr. Cab, I think in the lead. I know Great John off stream is a little bit behind. Moniker was really close with the others actually. Let me quick check. He is on the UFO catcher right now, so very close behind everyone else.
And this is, of course, Mr. Cab's favorite stage in any Mega Man. Of course, this is the Met stage. This is
Also
kind of one of the
bathroom stage, if I'm going to be honest. Look at the
that's fair.
tiles. It's got the bathtub at the bottom.
But yeah, this is actually one of the most interesting stages, I think, in a Mega Man game, in a classic Mega Man game at least, because of the fact that it's themed entirely around the Met, the little hamburger enemy, as you will. Every single enemy in this stage is a Met, including the boss. So it's kind of quirky. I love it.
We're into the bathtub now. It's actually quite scary. These spikes are everywhere, and you need to do some pretty high jumps if you want to clear these gaps in the most optimal way. Cab opted to land on the bottom ledge there before jumping up to the upper one. That is a good deal safer. Maybe Krebel will opt to be a little more risky, but this late into the run, I don't know. I feel like we're not going to see much of that.
Yeah, I think definitely when they're just trying to set the pace, there's no reason to really like risk yourself. I feel like they're probably just gonna play it safe. Nobody's on PB pace at this point, so it's not like you're playing for glory.
Slurpee did kind of go for it a little bit there, but didn't quite get up to the top. So looks like it's gonna be Mr. Cab, the first one into the boss fight. A tiny bit of RNG here with how long you have to get your hits in. You're hoping for 6 hits each phase here.
Yeah, I mean 6 hits is definitely optimal, but generally speaking, 5 hits is more than good enough. You need to do 5 hits twice in order to get the lowest pattern, which Cab has gotten. So basically what happens is the little Met Daddy over here has a variable amount of time of when he comes up to when he jumps. And if he does the shortest jump pattern, you generally cannot get more than 4 hits in. So as long as he doesn't do it twice, you're fine.
There's also, I found out, there's a second in variation between when he pops back up again too. So, just a little bit. It's not one of the big, headaches that can happen with some of the boss RNG. Mr. Cab in the lead heading into Wily 2. Make sure you take one of those upper paths or
I just stopped laughing.
you'll be in for a surprise.
Yeah, Wily 2 is it's a very interesting stage. I don't find it to be like a particularly difficult stage, but there are a lot of quirks in it that can certainly lose you time. A few like tight jumps that you'll have to make in places in the stage. I would say the hardest part of the stage is certainly the boss, which we'll get into very shortly.
Krebel and Slurpee joining Cab on this stage. Moniker now in the top right is in Wily 1 here, about 1 stage back. Still pretty close, and definitely the closest all-around heat we've seen in our opening set of runs here.
Yeah, this has been a very good competition. Pretty much what I expected coming into this, and I'm very pleasantly happy to see that that's come. Okay, as we're getting into the boss, which is named Taco Trash, one of my favorite Mega Man boss names. So the very interesting quirk about this fight is his weakness is Ring. And what you can do is you can actually do an interesting glitch where you will... There's actually 2 glitches that can happen. One, you can opt to use Rain Flush at the start of the fight, which Cab is going to do. And what it's going to do is that's actually going to cancel out the refill. Because he jumps into it, he uses the Rain Flush as he's refilling his energy, and then for some reason it just cancels the refill. Who knows? Now, Cab is opting to do the drill strat. So what he's doing there, he's actually firing a drill at him, and for some reason, when you fire a drill at Taco Trash, it cancels out his hitbox, so you can basically just go into him and fire the rings as you saw Cab do, and just like kill him with no consequence. The riskier strat, but the faster strat, is to actually not switch to drill. You just use the rings on him as it is. You use the rain flush, of course, because that's just an instant time save. But you would just use the rings and use the platforms to kind of go back and forth between him and hitting him. So we'll see if any of the competitors have to do it that way. It looks like Slurpee is, so that's cool.
Slurpee is the kind of runner who is going to go for some of this harder stuff, this faster stuff. And as a newer runner, like, it might not be the thing that gets him the best results like right now, but I guess he's interested in looking forwards, and you know, eventually these are the strats I'm gonna do. So let's just do them now and get good at him. Worked out for him pretty good.
Absolutely. See, Cribble is basically neck and neck with Slurpee. They're like, what, 1 or 2 seconds away from each other at most, which is really exciting.
Everyone is so close that someone is always within 1 or 2 seconds within someone else, it seems. This is just absolutely fantastic to watch. Mr. Cab still holding on to a lead here, dropping in to the refights, a classic staple in the Mega Man games. The route around the different fights has been optimized, I think mostly just to prevent switching in the menu to all the different weapons. So if there's one thing that works pretty good against 2 bosses, then you'll opt to do that rather than use the thing that is, you know, the absolute best against one and then the absolute best against the other. So we're going to keep Dust and go over here to Skull, where Skull is also weak to Dust.
And you will see the same with Skull Shield, where you'll be seeing it used against Dive Man and Bright Man to aid in that fight. But yeah, the refights of Mega Man 4 are, in my opinion, some of the hardest Classic Man refights. I would say like Rockman and Forte being the hardest, but Mega Man 4 is definitely up there in terms of refights. A lot can go wrong, and your energy usage is very key. Not just your weapon energy, but also your health. Being off just a little bit will put you in huge trouble going into the final boss, so you have to be very careful.
And a shout out to Papatot earlier was having trouble with Brightman. He kept shooting shots, and Skullman's shield kept absorbing the shots instead of hitting Brightman. So hopefully everyone's able to land their hits, and eventually switch to Rain Flush here to be the true weakness for Bright.
And you may be wondering why Cab used Skull Shield at the start, and the reason why is actually because if you do use Toadman against Brightman, which is his weakness, if you exclusively use it, you'll actually put yourself in trouble, because Brightman operates, he will end up flashing the screen and basically, you know, turning you to stone. You can't do anything. He will do that at certain HP intervals, and by using Rain Flush exclusively, it puts you unfortunately in one of those HP levels. So that's why they use the Skull Shield to kind of get around that.
All right, we had a drill man there from Mr. Cab. I didn't see a dive. There might have been one, but certainly not many. So that was pretty good. Treble also now into drill. It's one of the tough things about Mega Man games, is if there's one boss that has a lot of randomness, you're gonna have to fight it twice in the refights here. So I didn't see Treble actually doing the jumps. There's something you can do to kind of time out whenever Drillman dives. It's kind of the only thing in your control. It's not going to save you time, but it will help you plan when he's exactly going to pop back out. You can the time it takes to jump 5 times is about as long as it takes for him to pop back up. So you can use that to space it out and hit him the moment he pops back out.
Yeah. So they save Dustman for last in these refights, and it's actually, you have to be very careful with how many times you have to take a D-boost against them if you have to. Taking it too many times leaves you with very low amount of health, which puts you in trouble for the last boss. So have to be a little bit careful here, and hopefully it doesn't suck too much, because if he does, then you just, at some point, just have to kind of deal with it.
Alright, here we go with the Wily Machine for Mr. Cab, using Ring on the first phase here. Ignore the lovely sound it makes, and focus on how he's staying close. That helps you get under a lot of these projectiles, but it is still hard to thread in there and get your shots. In the second phase, even harder. You have to manually explode the drill before it connects with Wily, or it will kind of like just tink off. Wow, that was really good, actually.
That was a very, very good fight. You will notice that he switched to drill at the 1 HP. Sorry, I was kind of zoning out. Did you explain that, Myth?
No, I skipped over that part.
Okay, so yeah, you will notice that Cab used switched to drill when the first form had 1 HP left, and the reason why he did that is by using a drill at the 1 HP. I don't quite know how it works, but basically, you end up canceling his HP load kind of animation at the end due to the timing of the drill hit. So very nice to do because you know refills in this game are really slow.
All right, Crumble gets the Wily Machine down. Everyone, I think I called Toadman's weapon the wrong thing because it spawned the chat on a wild detour here. But everyone should be excited for the finish here. Mr. Cab coming into the capsule, random where he appears. You have to react to it. It's very difficult. But if he appears kind of above you or in the middle, you can jump up, hit him with the one above you, and then throw for a double hit. But the timing is very tight. Ooh, there's one.
Very nice. There we go. So that's GG for Mr. Cab.
That was an excellent series of final boss fights from Mr. Cab.
Yeah, absolutely. Played it really well towards the end and was able to get a pretty solid time. I think he'll be happy with that, but obviously he'll be looking to improve.
More runners now coming across the finish line. Here comes Kreble. Oh, down below. You cannot throw straight down here with your weapon, so when Wily is straight above, it's a bit easier, but when he's right below you, very difficult to move to the side and then throw diagonally the other direction.
Oh, he's very low on ammo. Okay, great. That was great. So, unfortunately, if you do run out of fire ammo, it puts you in a very, very sticky spot because Pharaoh and Ring are the only two things that actually hit the boss. So if you were to run out of fire ammo, which is very possible in an RTA-like setting, a little bit less likely in a no-reset setting because you go for safety drops. If you run out of Pharaoh, then you're forced to use Ring, and if you don't have enough Ring, you just game over, and you need more ammo at that point.
And using Ring just sucks. If he appears above or below, you can't do anything about it. And then the space in the middle, you need him to not be like right on top of you, or you're going to get hit by him and take a bunch of damage. And sometimes you're pretty low on health as well. So it's awful. You really, really want to do what you can to avoid running out of Pharaoh.
Absolutely.
And interesting to point out here, Kreble, they may have taken a mulligan because their in-game timer or their actual time that they were running, actually a 40:36, a little bit faster than Mr. Cab. I don't know if it was stream delay or something, but actually is going to be finishing a little bit ahead of Cab on the leaderboard. I think once the referees go ahead and time it out and make sure it's all good.
Yeah, very, very solid time for Kreble. I mean, his PB is 40:22, so if that is indeed his time, that is right up there with his PB. Very impressive time for him.
Moniker now as well gets the kill, 42:51.
All right.
His PB is a 39:46, so there's like a window here that I think he can work with, and I think he's got a really good shot at improving,
42:51.
Pretty significantly.
Yep. Yeah, you got the first run out of the way, and now you can kind of just get right into it. You don't really feel like you have to just like continue with those mediocre runs. You can just kind of just go for it at this point, especially like early on in the 3-hour kind of time limit. There's no reason to really like feel like you have to force your hand and kind of keep a run that you don't really like.
Antlers finishing with a 43:05, and we missed Slurpee. There was two people in the capsule fight at the same time, so we couldn't see both. Slurpee had a 41:38, which the best recorded time I know for Slurpee is actually 41:45, so that might have been a PB for him.
Oh, for Slurpee, he has a 39:59.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he achieved it this morning.
Okay, that's why. I checked it last night and updated all my little stats here.
Yep, Slurpee, he has the old 4 or 5 a.m. streams, throwing you off for a loop, Myth.
Well, yeah, he's just a talented speedrunner and has so much experience with Mega Man, if not Mega Man 4. So the fact that he's still rapidly chopping off minutes off of his PB, even leading up to the days before the tournament, is not surprising to me at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if he manages to go even lower than his PB currently is, even just during this 3 hours.
Yep, absolutely. It's certainly interesting because with somebody like a runner like Slippery, as you mentioned, with like so much experience, you're right. There definitely is that possibility for him to just absolutely crush his PB, maybe get something in the 38 range or something like that. But there also is the possibility because of his maybe inexperience with the game, he just may not even get close to his PB. That's really the nature of the beast when you're like so kind of inexperienced with the game. You just never know what to really expect from them.
Great John has got to the refights here, coming up on 45 minutes on their timer. Great John's PB is 42.55, I believe, set July of last year. So coming back to the game kind of after about a year break or so. And this is, 3 minutes over PB. I feel like John's got a pretty good shot to improve once they go ahead and finish this run, but got to get through Dustman first.
It's true. So, Myth, I don't know, maybe you haven't, it hasn't been your forte where you've been in this sort of scenario, but, like, how would you approach this sort of environment where you have this sort of, like, time limit to get the best run possible? What do you think you would do?
I would try not to reset early. If I was 2-4 seconds behind on my first and second splits, don't worry about it. I think it's a lot more valuable to try to get a run deep, to get it past, Cossack 1, to get it past some of the later bosses, Square Machine, and just give myself more attempts at getting to that point. Because that's, I think, where the big swings in time loss are going to be. And then aside from that, it's tough because the commentator in me always wants to look for the element of strategy in these races. I really enjoy that extra element that gets added to speedrunning, but I also can't deny that doing something you're not used to can also hurt you a great deal. So on some level, I would try to play the same as I always do, but I would probably be looking out for, if a big weapon refill dropped or something, be a little more willing to switch and pick it up. Big health refill, give it to me, right? That's kind of, I think, I would take those sorts of little differences, but other than that, don't change a thing.
Yeah, I like that strategy. I'm more of the creature of habit, if you will. I definitely agree with you that there's that sort of like, if you try to do something you're not familiar with, chances are you're probably gonna mess it up. At least that's how it is for me. So I definitely err on the side of I'm just gonna do what I usually do, which is very ineffective, but it's okay because I like it, which is reset heavily at the beginning of a game.
I also I'm like allergic to resets. Like I'm like, oh, I'm like a minute behind or whatever. I'll just keep going, right? Like I don't value getting the PB as much as I do just like staying in the flow of the game, I guess, which hurts my speedrun times quite a bit. But I don't know, it might help in a situation like this. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there is definitely something to be said for getting in that sort of comfort zone, being more familiar and comfortable with the game, because, you think about even like the most seasoned of runners with this game, like, nerves always are a factor, and being out of your element is always a factor. Like, if you tell like the world record runner who has like I believe 37:16, like I believe Chelney still has it. Like if you put somebody like Chelney who's on like PB pace or like who's on 36 pace, which is this rarefied territory for this game, nobody's achieved it, nobody's come close. Like you don't think that puts them out of their element? So it's all relative, right? So getting sort of like in that comfort zone or getting that in that sort of like in your element, I think is very important for things like this.
Great John has finished 47:24 is the final time. All the runners have 2 hours and 11 minutes, give or take, to improve upon these times that they've set. 2 hours, I don't know, you feel like that's kind of a long time, but it's also like 3 full runs, right? So it can go by really quickly when you're down there pressing the buttons.
Oh yeah.
So let's see who's going to be the first one to get kind of another run started. Mr. Kaba has a green split here. It's not by much, but that's okay. It's definitely good enough to keep going into the ringman fight here. Looking very good on health. Not going to be too much of a concern dying here.
Oh yeah, that's really high health. Must have got a few fortunate weapon or energy drops throughout the stage. Interesting strategy that Cab uses here with the Pharaoh. Might be the product of the fact that he has extra health, so why sort of like get out of his element. But a little bit on the slower side, but that's okay. I think the thing that I admire the most about Cab as an approach to speedruns is he may not be the flashiest or the fastest person, but he's a very, very consistent runner. And I think in a tournament like this, in a setting like this, that's going to benefit him like greatly.
Yeah, for sure. And it also helps that there's just something about like when you just like know a game inside and out. You can be prepared for like some pretty weird situations that pop up. Whereas if you're just someone who hyper focuses on executing on a route that you've learned from other people, you can, if something goes wrong, you can find yourself in an unfamiliar situation and you can panic, you can not know what to do. And Cab's going to find himself in that situation a lot less often, just drawing from all his experience and knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a ringman here from Antlers, so even though he's plus 11 after Pharaoh, but he's still continuing, that's exactly what I would do in this situation. There's more than 11 seconds left to improve off that previous run, I would say, in the rest of the run here. So, play it out and see what happens. Don't give yourself more opportunities to find out how your end game is going to go.
Yes, Cab, I did see that. That man literally cheated death. That's all I have to say. He should have been dead. I don't understand how he lived. He was going off of that one of those little building platforms, and looked like he was about to go off of it and unfortunately slide off of it and take a death. But somehow that platform saved him. The appearing platform on the bottom somehow saved him. I have no idea how, but it did.
Sometimes it works in your favor. I guess it's because we didn't say like, boy, this stage is going great for Mr. Cab, right? Like if we had said anything like that it would not have played out that way. That's just how it works. So Mr. Cab dodges a bullet. Ringman for Antlers is still in this stage and got hit. Skipping that mini boss the way that you would expect, but still has more health than you would if you had gone for absolutely everything and didn't get any health refills. So it should, it's like, oh, he's below half, look out, but I think actually Antlers is going to be pretty comfortable for this Ringman fight.
Yeah, depending on how the stage plays out for you, if you're playing in an optimal setting, you could have as low as 4 health going into the Ringman fight. And obviously, if you get hit by anything, you're pretty much dead. So having that extra health that Antlers have allows him to get hit by Ringman there accidentally, which will, of course, be huge.
And look at that, from plus 11 down to minus 6.7. I think that says. Commentator viewer's a little blurry sometimes. Forgive me if I can't quite read some of these, but I think he's ahead, Like if he had reset after the 11, he would not be in this situation where he's 7 seconds ahead and 8 minutes into a 40-minute run.
It's true. It's interesting when you think about Antlers competing against this current time that he has now. Oh! Alright, well, I guess he doesn't like the time and he just opted to reset.
Huh.
That's one way to go about it.
Why after Pharaoh, though? Oh, did he choose the wrong stage?
Oh, he may have. That's might have been what happened. I did not notice that.
I guess we're still playing.
All right. Well, we're back. Because, if you're a plus 11 after Pharaoh and then minus 7, I don't know why that would be the tipping point for you.
Right.
So that's the only thing that comes to me. Maybe if someone saw, they can help us out. It's going to be hard to keep track of everything. So we'll do our best.
That's right.
So everyone else trying to get a run started. Mr. Cab is the one who's still cruising here, using the flash stopper to freeze these enemies. Also makes them vulnerable. These particular enemies can be armored on certain sides, so you can just shoot them directly while they're stopped.
Yeah, important to make sure you're maintaining your slides, as Myth alluded to earlier when the competitors run the drill stage earlier. The longer you kind of chain those slides, the more time you have with the flash stopper not running out. So pretty important in this stage to make sure that doesn't.
We are clearly not going to do the clap.
So Slurpee and Moniker are in Bright, also still trying to get a run off the ground. So all 5 other competitors in those early stages hoping to get something clean. Mr. Cab, kind of the one to watch for now in Skull here.
I got bodied hard.
Pretty good pace so far relative to his splits that he set in the last run. He's going to be about 35 seconds or so ahead after this. Yep, 35 seconds. It's pretty good.
that's more than I would have expected for this early compared to his previous run. I think he's in a really great spot here.
Yeah. I think it just goes to show you his early game probably wasn't the best in the run he set earlier, but Cab knows how to finish strong, so I think it'll be interesting to see how he finishes it.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, the Wily Machine into the Wily Capsule sequence for Mr. Cab was like, among the best that I've seen in all of the qualifiers, right? Like, it really was just very, very, very good, solid all around. So I absolutely agree. He's here in dive now. It'll be interesting to see which players decide to throw in some of those underwater slides. There's a couple you can do that are spaced perfectly out, so you don't have to worry about any kind of left-right slide canceling. Raiden slides, I believe they're called, after the person who kind of came up with the idea.
It is indeed true.
I like how it's a fancy name for just like, hey, you should do a slide here.
Listen, I think you should know, Myth, being a part of the speedrunning community, is no trick is legitimate unless you put a name to it.
Yeah, and it's, I hope Raiden didn't name it himself, right? That's the ultimate
Yes.
faux pas in our community, right?
Awkward.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be named. Somebody else has to name the trick after you.
Antlers gets tagged by Brightman there. The back of the projectile just barely touched his heel and took away the last of his health, so that's a reset.
I would say it's a bit of a little bit of a challenge in the first few stages for a Mega Man 4 speedrun. Especially if you're doing the Power First route, kind of having to get past those two stages. And Ring is definitely no pushover of a stage either, so kind of getting over the hump of the early game can definitely be a struggle for a lot of Mega Man 4 runners. I know myself when I was doing attempts of this game, it was definitely a struggle to kind of just get past those first 3 stages. And then Dust 2, which is like one of the hardest
Right.
stages. So getting past those first 4 stages can be a struggle.
Great, John. Halfway through that struggle, I think I see a gold split, which I should remind everyone that I think everyone is using splits that are based off of this heat alone. It's not comparing to their PBs, so don't get too excited at some of these gold splits. In most cases, they're comparing against the one run they did before. But gold still does mean faster than before, so Great John is in a pretty good position here in Ring. It's going to opt to turn around and take the hit from the attack from this enemy rather than sliding into them to save health. That may have been the difference between being able to take 1 or 2 hits here in the ring fight.
Yep. Yeah, so he does have that extra health. I think this will be about 12 health there. So we'll have no problems if he gets hit here. But still playing it a little bit safe. I definitely appreciate the strategy here, and it's paying off for him.
Cab took a bit of damage in Drillman stage and did not hesitate to jump up and grab the large health refill there.
What's that hop? I was holding down.
Oh, there's Antlers might have liked that health refill, but it's on top of some very deadly spikes, so it's just gonna have to watch that go and continue on.
Yeah. Shots on this room now.
Mr. Cab did not freeze this room fast enough, so all of the turrets have shot. All their projectiles are exactly perfectly placed to zone you out of landing on those platforms, so it's a really bad situation.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timing for that, but it is very precise to get that that flash stopper in time. I want to guess and say it's like the first few frames of of being in the screen, but for sure.
It helps a little bit. You can find a visual cue with the screen scrolling, and that will improve your accuracy. But you're right, it is a very small window. Here we go with Drillman. Cab's on great pace. Let's see what's going to happen here. The first dive is always there.
Good start. Gets one more rotation, and didn't get it.
All right. Now Drill can just pop right back under there, but he doesn't. Excellent.
One dive, certainly respectable. I don't think there's anything to really complain about.
Trebles into Ring. The opening moments of Ring here, jumping on the balloons, are a little bit difficult. I don't think we talked about this technique the players are doing by putting balloons into the wall. Like Mega Man, Great John dropping into a pit and dust there. Gonna have to make a decision continuing a reset. Looks like he's gonna play it. Nope, there's the reset. Unfortunate. But these balloons, like Mega Man, will die if they're inside a wall. So you'll see them kind of do this little like puff of smoke almost animation that things do when they die. And while that is happening, the balloon hitbox is still there. So you can still land on it, you can still jump off of it. It's 8 frames. It's not a lot, but with some practice, 8 frames is exactly the kind of thing that you can exploit with a fair amount of consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely can be a struggle at first when you're learning this game to kind of use those balloon jumps, but they're pretty essential throughout the run, and I think with a little practice, you'll get them. It's definitely very, very necessary in some of the stages.
Doesn't help that in Ringman stage there's some additional wrinkles with the turrets that will you either want to damage boost off of, or you want them to not hit you at all and you want to just squeak through. So the balloon jumps are already hard, but navigating around the turrets as well makes that opening sequence very tough.
Yeah, the actually interesting quirk about the turrets is getting hit by the turret pellet does 2 damage, whereas getting hit by the turret itself does 4, I believe. It's 4 or 6, I think it's 4. So, you know, given how important your health is throughout the course of the ring stage, it's really like, you know, that's kind of the difference of having like enough health to maybe like not worry about like Ringman versus, oh, I'm in this danger zone, I have to worry.
Yeah, and it's also like if you can sometimes like get hit the wrong way and then like fall, and now you've taken that damage and you're still not through. So you might have to get hit again, and that will just further worsen the sort of health crunch you're in this stage.
So looks like Cab is finishing up his 8 robos here. Gonna have a very, very respectable time. Looks like an 1852 for the kill on Toadman, which is a very solid time for a robots. Definitely on 39 pace without question.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Some of the best 18 robos or 8 robos we've seen. It's because it's an 18 on the timer.
I got it.
8 robos. We haven't seen many of those at all so far in qualifiers, so a mark of an expert runner for sure.
I think pretty much everyone, almost everybody, though, especially and everybody on screen is capable of getting that 18 as well in the robos. So I imagine we're gonna see it at least once or twice before this heat is.
We're only 1 hour into our 3 hours here. The players are free to use their time as they will to produce the best speedrun. We're looking at the 4th heat of 9. So far we've had 18 competitors put some times on the board, and I guess we've got 6 now from these competitors as well. There will be 30-ish more having their 3 hours to produce their best time coming up over the next few days. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be when that happens. There's the schedule link in the chat if you want to know where to catch the rest of these qualifiers.
Yeah, so, you know, for a lot of these competitors, you know, especially kind of where the dust heat is right now, you don't really know what to expect with your other competitors and how you stand. So it's really kind of that unknown of it all, really. Like, you know, do I have a good enough time to get into that top 32? Do I have a good enough time to get myself a top 8 seed, top 16 seed, whatever the competitors' goals are? It's very interesting kind of like seeing how that plays into their mindset and how they approach things.
And you did point out an important thing is that you're not just concerned with getting into the top 32, because the brackets will then be seeded by your performance, and a better seed will mean you're matched up against weaker opponents. So it can be a pretty big advantage to have a really strong qualifying time. Antlers just died in Ringman stage. We've talked a lot about why all the damage boosts put you in a low health situation. It can be very easy to be in a no health situation, and it looks like that's what happened to Antlers, so back to Brightman for them.
Unfortunately for Mr. Cav, he had an incident with his balloons on the second to last screen of Wally 1, or excuse me, Cossack 1, and as a result he was not able to get to the top of the last screen before heading into the boss stage. So rather than basically just fall down all the way and be very low on balloon ammo for the subsequent stages, he just opted to reset, which is a very interesting decision. I can't say I disagree with it, but I would say I'm a little bit surprised to see Cab opting to do that.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it comes down to like feeling. Like there's almost an emotional element, right? If you're gonna put yourself into a situation where you're feeling miserable about this stupid darn run or whatever, right? Even if it might not be, if you're feeling that way, it's gonna affect your mood. It's gonna start to affect your play pretty quick over the 2 hours, and so. If there's, if it's going to improve your mental game, then I think it's really important to consider that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most, if not maybe the most underrated aspect in speedrunning is the mental game. How do you feel like when you're attempting these runs, and how that changes from what the type of run is, whether it's a race setting and a reset run, a PB attempt, world record attempt, whatever it may be. So managing your mental emotions, as Myth said, is one of the, I think, most important parts of speedrunning.
We got Slurpee Ninja on screen, is on a run here into Dive Man, doing some of those slides with the left rights to cancel them. Really nice movement there. We didn't talk too much about this whale. You've gotta mash your heart out to kill this whale in one jump. Some players are able to do it, most aren't, I think, and everyone's just gonna have to live with that fact. Slurpee actually came pretty close, I think, on that one.
Yeah. And one interesting quirk, which you saw on the previous screen for Slurpee, is it jumped over a pit, or you think it's a pit. It actually isn't a pit. If you go all the way down that subsequent pit, you end up getting the wire. And the wire does not have any use in the RTA setting of their run, so unfortunately you won't see it. However, if they do accidentally fail to jump over that pit and go all the way down, they lose about 30 seconds, so it's almost assured that if they do accidentally fall into there, they will be resetting their attempt.
So, I've never tried the wire, I've never tried to use it. Talk to me a bit about why it's bad. Because it seems like it should be good, right? It's a grappling hook. Like speedruns love those things.
It's I wouldn't say it's that it's bad necessarily. It's that it is, as I said, costing you over 30 seconds to get it. So can you find 30 seconds worth of time saves in the rest of the game to make that like savings count? There is one case where you can find that time savings. Unfortunately, it has not quite been found to be RTA viable yet, and that is there is a refight skip in this game, which does require the wire for it to happen, and you will save many minutes doing that skip. But unfortunately, due to the precise nature of the skip, it requires you to do very, very precise inputs over the course of like a lot of inputs. Like I think it's like something like over 25 inputs or something like that. Have to be like near frame perfect or something like that. I don't know the exact specifics. So basically, it is a trick that is not considered doable by human means yet.
All it takes is one crazy devoted person to spin the whole game on its head. But for now, this is where we stand. I find myself wondering, like, if you could just get it for free, no 30-second time cost. Like, are there places where you would use it and like it'd be worth switching to?
I mean, it's certainly worth considering, that's for sure. I would say, like, in my my basic understanding of the game and the speedrun, I would say I can't really think of like 30 seconds worth. I could think of like a few seconds here and there for sure. 30 seconds worth, I find a hard time believing it.
It's a shame. Well, rip the wire. Literally, I don't know. Tear it up. We don't need. We're into Bright Man from Mr. Cab. It's really Slurpee here with all the way into Drill is our runner to watch, I think. Unfortunately, we don't have much to look at because Drillman decided to just dive pretty early into the fight and right back down again. And let's see, who's not on stream? Treble Star and Great John. Let me see how they're doing. We're into Ring, actually, with Great John. But he's plus 41 seconds coming out of Bright, so must have died at least once. Well, hold on, he just beat Ringman, and he's not nearly 41 seconds behind anymore. Yeah, only 7. So I think he's going to continue his run.
Yeah, it's probably the nature of his first round splits. Probably up and down all over the place. Had a few deaths here and there. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot of that for the players this time.
Slurpee into his 8th Robot Master. I think the 18 Robos, as it's now going to be called, I guess, for the next 2 hours, is out of his reach. But we'll see what he can do here in this stage. I think this stage is super hard with the changing of, like, if you're on the ground, you're fast, but if you're in the air, like, you're much slower, and that kind of push and pull, and then it changes halfway through where now the water sliding on the ground is what's changing your speed and not in the air. But I'm curious, as someone who's much more experienced, like, does that kind of thing kind of go away with practice, or is it still a hard stage in that regard?
It is deceptively hard, I'll say. I'll say that's probably the best thing I can give the stage. You don't expect it to be hard because, like, you know, the average viewer kind of watching it at home, you don't really see, like, a lot of flashiness to it. But yeah, the rain can be a very tricky sort of thing to navigate. Just being slightly off on your slides, especially in the first screen, can lead to your death. I would say, like, one of the most common choke points, that's not the right word, one of the most common death points in these stages, the first screen, due to, like, how finicky the rain can be. So yeah, it is definitely not a pushover stage by any means.
Oh, Slurpee was trying to stretch the flash stopper all the way to the end of the screen with some optimal sliding, but didn't quite get it, and the fish jumped at him there. It could have been pretty bad, but I think he recognized that and kind of, like, turned back to make sure he stayed on the platform after taking the hit, which is a nice heads-up play. Hoping to get under 20 minutes on his 8 Robos here. I think he can do it.
Yep, looks like it. 1950. Certainly worth continuing. It is definitely on pace for him, as you can see on his
The
splits.
train graveyard will be at a future date.
Ringman Antlers dancing around, has no more Pharaoh shot,
Uh-oh.
and kind of wasn't even really switching to Buster, like he was just focused purely on dodging and surviving, and after coming out of the menu, wasn't quite able to react to what happened there, so that's another reset for them. Meanwhile, Moniker has got Dust Crusher, so is out of those first 4 difficult stages, like you said, got a run going.
Yeah, I would say, like, as you kind of alluded to earlier, is, like, you know, just roll with what you got rather than trying to reset all the time. And I think especially for Mega Man 4, you definitely kind of just want to roll with what you got for the first 4 stages. Especially because, like, for all of these times that I've seen so far, you know, they're not, like, super close to their PBs. You know, I would say, like, Cab probably has the strongest time in relation to his PB out of all the competitors so far, and even him, like, there's really no reason to reset over, like, a mediocre 4 stages. Maybe, like, a plus 30 to a plus minute, sure, you might want to reset it, or, like, a death, of course, but other than that, there's so much time to save for all of these competitors that, yeah, you just want to kind of roll with whatever you got.
Mr. Cab into the Dust Crusher section, very difficult. I think he got held up a little bit, so I don't know if he's going to be able to make the quick cycle here.
Yeah. It is a pretty tight timing to make that quick cycle. Playing a little bit safe there, got hit and got the energy drop. But yeah, hitting that first cycle there and getting under the Crusher as fast as possible is a little bit tricky. Especially for newer runners picking up the game. It's not really something I would recommend them going for. But for runners of this caliber, like that we have all the runners in this heat, I would expect all of them to at least try for it. And if they don't get it, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Slurpee is in Cossack 1, has gone through some of the earlier stuff with the ice, can be a little difficult, but I think probably the harder part is these balloons. Dealing with the lag, the damage boost, nice.
Very nice. And he is quite low in his health. Generally, you're fairly low with your health going into Mothraia. Slurpee, I think, is a little bit lower than usual, so has to be very careful not to get hit here. I believe if he gets hit by a bullet, it is not the end of the world, but getting hit by Mothraia is doomed for him.
I guess it was roughly here anyway.
Throwing in some nice slides. Got a pretty high hit there, actually. It looks so boring, this fight, but the subtle movements of the hitbox up and down is actually kind of taking it in and out of your range. And so you do need to be really careful about picking your spots. Slurpee went for a pretty risky one and got it there. So I really like that fight from him.
Yeah, that was a very good fight for Slurpee. It's like you said, it was a very risky way that he went for the fight, especially because if he gets hit, he's dead. And being dead there, like Myth alluded to earlier, you don't get sent back to the boss door in Mega Man 4 in the Cossack Valley stages. No, he gets sent back like a minute before where he was, without balloon that he can use. So the run is an insta reset if he dies there.
Well, he went for it, and it paid off into the difficult section of Cossack 2 here on the spikes with the balloons, those turning around at the last moment to get damage boosted to the right. I've seen players turn too early and move away from the enemy, not get hit at all, drop into the spikes. That's a very real threat. Bit of hesitation trying to deal with the spike blocks here, but does get through.
So pretty good health. I don't imagine he'll be going for the backup energy there. Yeah, it looks like he'll be avoiding that. He is, yeah, he'll be able to take a hit against Square Machine. Hopefully he doesn't, but you know, if he does have to, he does have the extra health. We'll see what Square is going to give him. All right, Myth, you got to call it. What are the patterns going to be?
2-2.
All right, I'm going with 3-2.
All right. You wish ill upon our friend Slurpee Ninja, I see.
I just know Square Machine. What can I say?
We'll see. I guess I'm putting words in your mouth with wish. There. That's pretty different from predict, right?
Come on.
Well, we got a 3.
You're already ahead of me. And then we both said 2, so there's no way I can win.
But you can't lose on the second half at least, right?
Longer I have to play this game.
Ah, 3-3, absolute worst.
Yeah.
It's actually 3-2 is the most common pattern when you study the kind of patterns. I don't remember the specific math, but 3-2 is generally considered the most common pattern. So 3-3 is actually, not only is it unlucky in terms of time lost, but it's actually unlucky in terms of getting that pattern.
It's molded.
Had to work pretty hard to get the final hit on that second phase. Got hit, fell down. Then the platform cycle was, high when he needed it to be low, so he had to go to the other side. But he did find that last hit to close it out on the second cycle. Moving on to Cossack 3 here. Mr. Cab is in dive. Great John's in dive. Moniker's in drill. There's a lot of people who got runs going.
I like this. People got runs going. Gonna see a time set, I think. I know, as Slurpee is in the auto scroll, I just want to kind of make a mention about the times you see on screen, sort of our standings. As we talked about earlier, the top 32 times do get yourself into the next part of the tournament, which is the bracket portion. And, you know, with these runners here, they'll be kind of like in the middle of the heats. You really don't know what to expect, right? Like in terms of what the top 32 time is going to be. Honestly, I don't even know what to expect. My guess is, I was looking at the times earlier, maybe 44 would be a good time to get you into the top 32, which most of these runners, I think maybe Great John doesn't have that time at this point. So, you know, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say most of these runners are probably going to get into the next round, but, you know, it's not just about getting to the next round, right? You don't want to be number 32 and go up against the 1 seed, so you definitely want to set yourself a good time.
Right, absolutely. And in terms of the high end of the leaderboard, I don't know, are we going to see like a 37, for example? In 3 hours, could Colonel Fatso or Prissy or Becca or Ohan manage to put a 37 on the board? I think one of them could.
Yeah, I would actually be a little bit surprised if we don't see at least 137. I think there are a lot of runners for this game that are in top form right now. I've been practicing a ton, so I do expect to see a 37 at least before all this is over.
Currently, Not Riley stands on top. Looking Toad was pretty close earlier today, but there was a bit of capsule luck, I think, at the end. Prevented getting the number 1 spot. Would have needed like an absolutely amazing perfect, I think, to get 37, or maybe it was from the point of Wily Machine that he needed to make it happen, but was right there, right at the cusp. I think you're right. I think we're definitely going to see it sometime in the qualifiers. If you want to see it, you should, what's the command? Schedule, I think we'll pull it up. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There will be more heats for the qualifiers for this Mega Man 4 Cossack Cup tournament. Some roaches for Slurpee now. Did really well executing on the strat. Got all the multi-hits.
Perfect.
The doubles and triples.
Looks like Cab is on a pretty good pace as well, so is Moniker. I believe Moniker is over a minute time save there. Let me see if we can...
Yeah, try to load up his stream special and like zoom in on it. I've been doing a bit of... Oh, except I wanted to reduce bandwidth, so I'm looking at a blown up but still blurry version. But yeah, minus 142, I believe.
Yeah, very, very good. He has a 42-51 so far, so at the
What?
very least he's on pace for 41. I would imagine he's probably capable of getting at least a 40 with this
sure.
run. Probably more. Or probably better.
We've got 2 runners in Drillman here. Great John
That's exactly
getting
what
into
I
the
want.
fight here. Does get
Drop
one
it, sit
drill.
there and hold me back
Mr.
for
Cab's still in the
several
stage.
seconds.
Was just walking for a little bit there, so it's
Just to
absolutely
make
going to
sure I
have
had
to
full health for
re-flash, and absolutely knew that as well, so
Wow.
did exactly that. Oh, the dive missile missed.
I hate to see it.
All right, but Great John's able to wrap that up. Didn't get punished by another last-second dive. The dive missile, I don't know, it's cool. I like it thematically, and it does let you kind of like jump up above Drillman, and it'll turn and hit him from above. But sometimes
Yep,
it just
the one
can't find
shot
its
I
way,
missed.
man.
The one shot I missed.
Unfortunately for Mr. Cab, he got a dive at the end when Drill had 1 health, and it was unfortunately because he missed 1 missile. It's very hard to get all the missiles on
feel
Drill,
like I
especially the
missed a
pattern
shot.
that
No,
Mr.
because
Cab
it
got,
hit
which
his
was
iframes.
basically him jumping up
That
the
was
entire time. It is very hard to time all of the missiles hitting and not like kind of like hitting through that invulnerability period where it just doesn't do any damage. So, but unfortunately
That's
because
good
he
news.
missed that shot, he had
figure
to
if I
deal
get
with that
39,
extra dive, which stinks. But you know what?
38,
Ultimately, it's not that
getting
big of a
big
deal
enough
in the
to
course of
easy,
the
I might
run
just stop.
in this type of setting.
Slurpee Ninja is on the Dr. Cossack UFO catcher here. Doing that sliding in the corner strat, though. He did move quite a bit, actually. I'm worried for his health now. He can't get hit by anything. He's running all the way over. I've never seen the catcher get that far on the left side of the screen. That was terrifying.
I think he will continue at this point. He is not that far from the boss door. He's actually on the last screen, as you can see. So, not the worst death in the world. So yeah.
The screen, you have to yell at
Worth
me.
playing out from
Not
here.
just
It's
not all
it's
the
so
time, this one.
when you look at your timer and you see it start counting down, and the boss fight hasn't even started yet. It can be a little frustrating, a little nerve-wracking. So we'll see if Slurpee's able to recover here.
And to just
Alright.
actually go
This
for it.
is, kind of
Right?
tricky where he is right now. He'll probably have to go to the
That
left
is,
at
like,
some point. Unless he just plays,
high
like,
on the list of screens
amazingly.
I know I've got.
Yeah,
What?
like
How
is
did he-
now. I mean, sure. You know, why not? that
Wow.
was really well done by Slurpee.
I didn't even see Mega Man turn around. He just jumped up and the shot just came out of the back of his head. All right, nicely done by Slurpee.
The problem is like, it's something about
Monikers
sliding
into Cossack
down
1.
from behind
Fortunately, it
the
looks like
bar.
he did have a death in tow. So he
Yeah.
lost a lot of the
Yeah, I know,
time
right?
that he had. But
So these splits are only for
oh, I'm
60,
sorry. Excuse me.
35,
Excuse me. I was looking at the wrong
39,
column. He
05,
had
but some of
the
best is
gold on the
actually
left and the
38
PB on the
low.
right. So he's actually fine.
So yeah,
Yeah, is not nearly as far ahead as before, but is still ahead. So to be this far into the run and be ahead,
54.
gotta feel at least pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
Look left. See if I get it this way.
Great John's looking to find the pixel here. It's going for a left-facing one, and got it.
Just gotta show off the swag, you know?
Yeah, it's so because there's the screen is divided into 16 by 16 pixel blocks. So across the bottom of the screen, it's an even number. It's 256. So there is no middle pixel. There's 2 middle pixels, and there's sort of one that works when you're facing right and one that works when you're facing left. And you kind of got to know both if you want to give yourself the best chance at getting exactly where you need to be, because sometimes your sub pixel is off, and even if you're doing your perfect one frame taps, Mega Man will just walk right over the pixel you need him to be in. So you got to do a little slide and reset yourself. Probably you slid to the right or something, because it's probably the direction you were facing, and now you're going to turn left to get back to the middle. So knowing how to use the left facing pixel from there speeds up your ability to have a shot at getting to the middle.
And it's also like tricky because like I don't know if it's a sub-pixel thing or it's just like the way the game works, but you can sometimes just not be able to get on that right pixel. Like you may just be a little bit off. You might be going like over that pixel or just like too far. So you kind of have to like reorientate yourself. Like, you see sometimes like runners just like sliding like in place or something like that just to get themselves into that like proper pixel. It can be very, very frustrating at times.
Yeah, I think it might be like a rounding thing. Like I'm way out of my depth here, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But I think Mega Man moves faster than 1 pixel per frame. So at some point you're getting with fractions of pixels in there, and I think that is what is the source of why sometimes you just can't get to the pixel that you want.
All right, I believe in scientist Mythical 9.
It sounds
Nobody
good,
ever
doesn't
failed
it?
it.
It sounds like it could be
Not in the
right.
middle of a giant tournament heat
And we'll leave it
race.
at that. Slurpy Ninja is done with Met Daddy. I'm seeing red numbers over there.
He is indeed plus 16 on his split so far, but still worth continuing. Probably has some time to save on the refights. Yeah, he has like a 5-minute refight time, so there is without question time. I would say like for his skill level for like a 39, you're probably looking at like high 3-minute time, like 350, maybe like a low 4. So there's definitely time to save for him in the refights.
So,
Interesting race has kind of developed between Great John and Mr. Cab. They're both just wrapping up. Cossack won here. Great John didn't quite have as good a Mothraga fight as Mr. Cab did. Very difficult fight. Meanwhile, Moniker is on the square machine. I think that was a 2 there, unless I missed the first part of the 3.
Of course, yeah, Moniker's doing pretty well there. Oh, just walking on top of the square, because why?
You gotta establish dominance on the square. And then gets a 2 on the second one, so that part's gone well. Execution's gone not so good because that was the 3rd cycle there. I wasn't sure if I had missed the first cycle or not, but dying in 1 hit means that Moniker lost a bit of time there. You know, even if it was short, like a 2 or a 1, a whole extra cycle is still it's a good, you know, 5-6 seconds or something.
Still, he is about 1 minute and 45 ahead of his PB currently, Moniker. So still good pace for him. I expect he can save more time as well in the later stages. So could be in for a good time.
Slurpee into those later stages. Wily 2. Riding on Rushjet and mashing away. Actually going for some slides on the 1-tile blocks.
Trying to do a little damage boost there, but the little dropper there wasn't cooperating.
So we saw aggressive stuff from Slurpee on Taco Trash in the previous run. We'll see if he's going straight to ring. He is. So gonna try to just play it from the platforms here.
I appreciate the loud deal by Mr. Cab, who is in the square machine fight. Ooh, unfortunately, a death for Slurpee. That is going to be very costly, because not only does he get sent back all the way here, which is a very big time loss, he also is out of ring, or not, excuse me, not out of it, but very low on it. So as a result, he will have to do some funny shenanigans at this point in order to get past not only Taco Trash, but also the refights.
Yeah, there are some little refills you get before the refights that players are used to picking up at least some, and then probably if you're racing, you'll grab a little bit more. But even grabbing all of them, I think he's still going to be hurting for ring ammo here. So I'm not actually sure what you do against this boss without the ring. Like, are you just going for charge busters here?
I have no clue.
We're
gonna
see if
find
Slurpee
out.
does. I feel like if you don't, it doesn't look good for Slurpee to know what to do in this situation.
Yeah, my guess would be drill to Buster, if he knows the drill tech. Oh, he doesn't know this. Oh, he's just going
He's
for
using
it.
the last of his rings here.
Yeah.
He is gonna be like, you know, mostly the other way through this fight.
Okay, yeah, he's using the drill tech now. He's gonna Buster, I assume. Yeah.
He's gonna have to get that ring back. Hopefully he'll get a lucky weapon drop, something he can switch and collect the ring, or he'll just play really risky and just see if he runs into trouble.
I mean, he needs ring, because not only does he... I mean, he can get away probably with not using ring on dust. It's gonna really not be fun, but he can probably get away with it. But he absolutely needs it for the capsule fight. Or excuse me, not the capsule fight, the machine fight. So I'm not quite sure what his plan here is, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out.
It's tough too because he's so far behind, right? Like he can't really be playing super safe from here if he wants to go faster than last time. So
okay, so he opted not to take that energy. So the energy drop on the first screen, he opted not to use it for like Pharaoh or something like that. Instead, he used it for Ring. And it's kind of like basically using all of the refills that he can on Ring. To make sure he has enough. So yeah, that should work out for him.
Yeah, his Pharaoh is still decent enough, though. He's not going to have much leeway with it. He's going to need to, you know, make sure he is not missing any of his shots with it. but he can do it. Into the refights. Meanwhile,
Wow.
Square Machine for Great John. Seeing some big green numbers.
I like
Over
it.
there for
Everybody's
John.
got green numbers, pretty much. Yeah, Mr. Cab's almost a minute ahead of his splits, which means he is on 39 pace, so that is really good.
That's always the fun one.
Moniker's also
I think that
pretty deep
platform
into a
is
run
like-
here on Cossack 4. Gonna go ahead and grab the extra E-Tank. We've seen a lot of that in the qualifiers. I think even if you're the kind of runner who doesn't grab it when you're doing attempts, it's a pretty easy adjustment to pick it up there, and could be the difference between finishing out a really close 40-ish minute time or whatever, or just completely eating it and not getting one of those sort of higher mid-tier times that could have been the difference of 14th or 10th or something.
Yeah. The nice thing about Mega Man 4 is there are at least two spots where it's very easy to pick with a refill. You saw the spot where Moniker picked it up. Also on Cossack 1, if you just, at the start of the screen, if you just slide to the left, there is an invisible E-Tank in the snow, so all you have to do is slide to the left instead of go to the right.
Catcher looks like
We have,
it's
I
gone
think,
really well for Moniker here.
passable time, so we're not getting...
Looks like
Slurpee.
Slurpee did
Mhm.
reset, so... Back to
was,
the Pharaoh for him.
Yeah, it's tough to be that far into a run and then have to reset, but you've also that's when the picture becomes more clear, right? You know, this is what's in front of me, this is how much time I'm behind, and how much I have to save, and it didn't add up.
Yeah. And it is very interesting
Ooh.
to note. Oh, fortunately got hit by the mosquito there, which is a very common occurrence in Pharaoh first. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious as we kind of pass the halfway point of the 3-hour mark. Kind of curious how that, what does that do for his mental state? He wasn't able to finish out that run, and he's still kind of on that 41 time, which certainly isn't the worst thing in the world, but obviously he expects to do better. So I'm wondering if maybe that puts a little bit more pressure on him, knowing that, I've kind of used half of my time already, and I haven't gotten that run yet.
Yeah, it's tough because the other way to look at it is like, hey, I just did 2 almost back-to-back runs that were pretty okay, at least pretty okay for most of the runs. So it all comes down to the player's mindset. I find most speedrunners tend to focus on their mistakes rather than their accomplishments. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like what you were saying. But you never know. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised at how optimistic people are.
It's true.
So off stream, I'm trying to remember all our runners. It's Krebel and Slurpee. So Slurpee is going to be working on another run. Antlers is up here in the top right is on Skull as the buffer catches up. We'll see just how their Skull fight plays out from here. But Krebel Star is still trying to get a run going. Isn't Bright, has been in the first couple stages for a while, I think. Is maybe not settling for anything less than a really good, clean start.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him, because at this point, he's the one that has the best time relative to his PB. The best time out of the 6 currently, so he feels pretty good, I imagine. And, if he got that good of a time, why not just risk it and go for glory,
Yeah, he can afford to be picky thanks to his good first run. Antlers' skull fight obviously went pretty good. Did lose a little bit of time, but is still 15 seconds ahead, which is a pretty good spot to be. Though, wait, did Antlers die in the first 5 stages in their previous PB? I want to say they did.
Yeah, I imagine so. His PB is 39.45, and he, I believe, is on, I think he's like 40, if I'm not mistaken, currently. So, yeah, 42.51. So, I have to imagine he had at least a death or 2 in his run.
Yeah, so like it's on the one hand like you're 16 seconds ahead, on the other it's like maybe I should have been like 40 seconds ahead or something, right? So I'm not sure where he's at, how he feels about this, but is going to continue. Is doing a nice 2-jump whale there. Looks pretty good. I actually don't know this. Help me out. When you flash the whale to stop it, is its hitbox actually changing depending on when you hit your flash?
Yes. It is like, I think it's mostly, if it's mostly like those little lines you see at the top of the screen. That will be what you want to hit. So generally it's pretty consistent, and like it's not like so tight that
Sure,
you
refill
can't
rush
like
check.
hit those hit the the hitbox. But yeah, it does change a little bit based on when you flash.
It's just another wrinkle into an already kind of intense set of inputs there. It gets that second one and does not fall into the wire hole.
Always the
Looking
best.
pretty good. Mr. Cab is pretty late into this run on the Met Daddy here with just those big green numbers like we talked about.
Yeah,
I think he only got 4 hits on the first phase, so we'll see here.
he's okay though. He only has to do 4 more hits here. Sorry, 3 more hits, so
Great,
he's
yeah,
fine.
Okay. More than fine.
I was thinking about that tank. I think I could have taken one more hit, but I didn't
It's
really want
the
to.
health values are very, they're already small, and then they get much more additionally small on the commentator view, so I am struggling a little bit with that regard. But Cab's not. He's through.
That's right. He's a minute and 13, I believe, ahead. At least a minute and 10. So this is a very good pace run for him. His PB, to remind everybody, is 39.05. His best time, like outside of this heat, and his best time in the heat is 40.45. So not only is he on very good pace relative to his heat best time, but he's also on just good pace relative to his PB. So
He
should
went and
definitely
said
look
it
out.
again. He said it out loud.
I'm just saying, he's on good pace. I didn't say he's gonna PB. All right, I just said he's on
now
good
you
pace.
did. Oh no! All right, Moniker's fighting Taco Trash. He's doing the drill. He's behind with the rings. He is pretty low on ring, but it's okay. He's gonna be okay.
Yeah, he'll be able to pick up those refills in the first screen of the next stage, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal.
John's into the bathtub with a much better run than we saw from them in the first round. We said there was likely going to be big improvements coming from Great John over the next 2 hours, and
Really lucky I got
it
that.
looks like he's on the cusp of producing one such
Otherwise,
good run.
become a disaster screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shouts at Shelny's 2015.
Ooh, a death from antlers on that screen where you need to flash the bullets in drill.
Seems like he's gonna keep going. I can't say I really blame him. He has a 43.05 showing on his splits, compared to his 39.45 PB. So one death is still more than capable of PBing for him. I think this makes a lot of sense.
Mr. Cab now on Taco, going to be going with the drill. And then from here, it's a pretty straightforward. Moniker's dropping into the refights. I'm guessing that they're doing okay on ammo. I didn't see anything that would suggest otherwise.
Yeah, they had a little bit of an issue with ring ammo before, but that was easily solvable in the first screen, so they should be fine.
It's a good idea to keep as many bosses close to the teleporter as you can. It lets you exit the area sooner. In fact, if you're standing on it, you'll just immediately zip out of there, which is good because as soon as the boss explodes, all of those sprites are on screen, and it starts to cause a good deal of lag, even in just the first handful of frames. So it really does make a difference being right on top of it.
Yeah, and something that should be noted is his current refights time is a 5-minute
practice
mark,
run
which
was
is a little bit high for a runner of his caliber, so he may be able to save a lot of time on this split.
These fights have all gone well so far, using the shield there to block the dive missile and to get the hit, making it look very easy and smooth. Moving on to Bright. Mr. Cab joining Moniker in the refights, actually. Bright is on the left side of the screen, which is good, except he's right on the left side of the screen. He's kind of between Moniker and the left side of the screen, but he's jumped away. He's going to come crashing on top of him, I think, so he does have to yield the left side of the screen, but then jumps immediately after, so perfect.
Might as well grab it while it's there.
All right, Drill Man.
Hi. Can I have those seconds back?
There's one dive from Moniker.
The classic. Meanwhile, on cap screen, you got a very cooperative Skullman with the shortest possible shield cycle there, so that was very
My
nice.
shots, you scumbag!
Moniker's drill was pretty good, and just like good effort on his part, doing some kind of turnaround shots, retreating over to the left side of the screen. Really nice job there, and one dive is perfectly acceptable, more than acceptable, especially when you're on good pace this far into a run.
Looks like his Pharaoh monikers, that is in pretty good shape, so shouldn't have any trouble with the final boss.
Really good on health too. You can be tempted to skip the refills of health because sometimes the boss is dying away from the teleporter and you'd have to go over and get it, but also just the time it takes to watch your health fill up can add up to almost a full second. So you will want to skip as many of those as you can, but also you don't want to be too low health going into the Wily Machine. It can be very, very easy to take damage in this fight, so I feel really good about Moniker having full health.
Meanwhile, Mr. Cab is having a bit of a struggle right now with his friend Drill Man.
Why?
Giving him
I think
the
it is.
moniker of Dive Man.
Yeah. Did you notice also that Dive Man will do drills?
I did not notice that. Well, thank you for telling me, though, man.
Yeah. Dive Man drills, Drill Man dives. There you go. Just a weird, crazy world we live in, I guess. That's a really good Wily Machine there for Moniker. Wrapping this up, I'm excited to see what the split is.
It looks like, assuming he has a decent Wily capsule, this should be a 40. So it'll be a very respectable time for him.
Yeah, minus 16 going into the final stage here. Great John finishing off Taco Trash at a 40.04 at this point in the run. Antlers deep into a run here too.
Good ring ammo for Cab, good health going into the Wily Machine, so should be pretty doable for him.
And this is tense. Cab fighting Wily Machine, Moniker fighting the capsule. Didn't get anything going on that first shot there.
Didn't get the double hit there, but that's alright.
Still has the ammo to be able to just do all one shots, but does get the double to close it at 40-41 is going to be Moniker's time.
I'm sure he's going to be very happy with that. His PB is currently 39.46, so a little bit less than a minute off his PB. Very respectful.
Cab finishes up the machine. Still looking at those big green numbers. Cab is poised to get a 39 on the board here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, was on a reset here. Had enough of that run that was in the sort of the plus 40, plus 50 range.
I don't think I've gotten any Pharaoh drops.
I think we're about to get like 3 significant improvements, all back to back. Moniker, Cab, Great John as well. Now into the refight, still looking good.
Cab's Pharaoh ammo is a bit low here, so has to be a little bit careful. Make sure he doesn't fire too many shots.
That's fine. Just get the double hits, and then you're not only are you fast, but you're also good on ammo. Just do it.
So you see there, he menued there, basically to save ammo. But there you go. Just get the double. Perfect.
So good. So good. What a way to close it out. 39-32. That is 27 seconds off his PB. Excellent.
Very nice time. And our first 39 of the evening, so that is also fantastic. Hopefully not our last. Want to see a competitor maybe PB or something? That'd be
Currently 6th. For whatever that
would definitely be cool to see.
Good. Like halfway through the heat.
As Mr. Cab alluded to on his stream, 39.26 puts him in 6th place, which is very respectable. It'll be interesting to see how that time plays out with the rest of the heats. I would be pretty shocked if he wasn't in the top 16. Don't know if he's going to get in the top 8 with that time, but he very well might. We'll see.
Yeah, hard to say. I would say somewhere between 8th and 16th, I think. But there's a lot of newer runners who are doing really well in such a short period of time. So there's a lot of like some question marks, you know, as to who might suddenly produce a run of such high quality. And then there's some very much not question marks left to play, right? Your Prissies, your Colonel Fatso, Beko, Ohan. So you know, count on those four at least getting into top 8.
Yeah.
All right. We've got our special 2-player layout that was specially added, thanks to JC doing some hard work for us, as well as some of the layout artists who I'm spacing on the name, and I'm sorry, but there are some talented people producing stuff for this. I just wanted to shout them out a little bit. It might have been Christy.
All right, let's go with that. Well, whoever it is, we thank you.
Yeah, Kaiser Christer.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It's going really well.
All right. So Krebel Star back on stream. Been a while since we've seen him, and it's like we talked about. They got a really good run, and in order to beat that run, you're gonna have to do a really good run. So is not settling for anything less than that in these first 2 stages, and it's really not so easy.
You know what? That's fine. It's very interesting, like, thinking about, like, what Krebel is feeling right now. Because, like, you know, on the one hand, I'm sure he's extremely happy that he got the time that he did early in the heat. But at the same time, does that maybe, like, get you a little bit frustrated? Knowing that, like, well, now I have to get a time that basically PBs, or close to it. So I kind of have to, like, go all out. And, like, you know, does that kind of put you on edge? Does that maybe put you in, like, a bad state of mind and gives you, maybe, like, makes you struggle even more to get that time?
Yeah, it takes a strong person to bang your head against a wall for over an hour, and not feel any kind of, you know, remorse or frustration or anything. But
yeah, like you saw, like, on his screen just now, like, he was in Bright, he got hit by the dropper over there, and, like, rather than continue, he was just like, nah, I'll just reset and go for another one.
Well, hopefully their mindset stays where it needs to be, and hopefully Great John can keep it up here heading into the final stage.
Definitely possible for him at 46 here, as long as everything goes well with the capsule fight.
It's kind of interesting too. Great John's like, this is going to be a huge improvement, but at the same time, like, I think he's still capable of even more.
Yeah, absolutely. His PB is 42.55, so definitely capable of a better time. But baby steps.
Oh, come on. How did that shot not hit? It just glided right underneath the capsule.
Does have plenty of ammo, so shouldn't be a struggle.
It's so tough to react to what you see, right? There's so many things that need to happen. Like, oh, the double hit does happen. Nice reaction. Minus 1 minute from his previous best time. 46.22 is the time for Great John.
Very nice, very nice. I'm sure he definitely wants to do better than that, but you know what? Like I said, take one step at a time. You take one PB, and then that gives you the confidence going into the next run, so now you're going to be able to PB even better.
Jumps up at least 2 places on the leaderboard, I want to say. Oh, sorry, just 1. I was including himself, which is not how that works. But it's also like, you know, even if you improve by a minute and you don't actually change places on the leaderboard, that minute's still significant because there's going to be, you know, 30 other runners posting times, and they might be within that minute window that you just improved on. So you will be, you know, ahead of them. For now, I think everyone is stuck trying to get a run going. I'm going to go to this view I have where I can look at all 6 and horribly lag my computer just to get a feel for things. Looks like the furthest along is Ring Man from Antlers. Everyone else is in the first 2 stages. And then I pause all these streams before my computer explodes.
Please don't have your computer explode, Myth. Who will I talk to if you're not here?
Wow, I think you would still do a great job, even all on your lonesome.
But it just wouldn't be the same.
You're right, it would.
Let's see, where did I Big time.
We got 1 hour and 11 minutes left. This is a good time to maybe remind folks what you're watching, what we're doing here. These are the qualifiers for the Mega Man 4 Cossack Cup. We've got multiple heats that have been designed to accommodate the schedules of all the runners. We got people from all over the world competing here. Ohan and Beko are from Japan. That's a 12-hour difference from East Coast. So it gets pretty hectic, but the organizers have done a great job in a lot of ways of getting a whole bunch of people able to compete. And so we've done 3 of these heats now already. We got 1 now and 5 more to come, 9 in total. There will be about 6 players competing in each one, 3 hours to produce the best time that they can. They can reset basically whenever they want if they feel like things are not going well. And the top 32 will move on to the main tournament, the Cossack Cup.
Yeah, it's been a very solid turnout for a Mega Man tournament, having 55 entrants. I would say like for mainline classic Mega games, they certainly all have their active communities to it. But definitely there's periods of time where, some communities are a little bit more active than others. And yeah, to see 55 people turn out for this tournament has made me very happy. Like it's cool to see this many people showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just something about tournaments that just kind of it gives a banner for everyone to rally around. Lots of people who were like, maybe I'll play that game or whatever. They see this tournament and they're like, yeah, no, this game. Let's do this game right now. And everyone all does it together. And it's just more fun to do things together.
That's right. Just like we're doing this right now, Myth, you and me together.
That's right. Why do I feel like there was some sarcasm in there? Like I feel like you meant it genuinely, but like it came out a little sarcastic.
Myth, when would I ever not want to hang out and talk Mega Man with you?
Like he's doing it again. I'm not wrong. Back me up, chat. I'm getting mixed messages here. I have a tendency to interpret things in a bad way, and you're feeding into it now.
I am a bit of a sarcastic person, so I can't say I blame you.
You gotta know how to switch that off. When you want to be genuine, when you want to speak from the heart, you gotta have the cadence to back it up.
But isn't this more fun to keep you guessing?
Oh, I don't like it. I still don't like it. All right, I'll deal with it. I'll be fine. Will Antlers be fine on this run? Ring stage here. Still ahead of the previous run. But I'm not sure. I want to say there was a death in some of those earlier stages. Maybe it was Dust.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's going to beat Dustman and we get a big improvement.
Yeah, I don't remember where he died, but I know he definitely had deaths in his run. So there's time to be saved all across the board from him. It actually is a little bit surprising that I haven't seen him get a better time than his 43 right now. But it could just be one of those things where kind of rough early game, something like that, and chose to reset rather than kind of keep on going and get a small PB.
All right, he is going to be improving just by a little bit, not the the big whopping I died last time and I didn't die this time, so here's 20 seconds sort of thing. Just a really solid stage and dealing with a bad pattern. Actually got 2 sucks there, but had the health to slide in and cancel those, so well executed.
I didn't think I got the inputs there. I thought I
Yeah, looking at his early splits here, his skull and dive split looked like, pretty standard times. Nothing that would indicate that he had a death, so it probably is later in the run that he has those deaths.
Here comes the zip in Skullman stage here, luring the enemy close to get the invincibility frame so that you don't die when you try to zip into the wall, as the game will try to do that. It's kind of interesting that your invincibility frames as like a mechanic in the game is also protecting you from this instant death mechanic. Like you could easily see that being something that kind of like operates outside of the normal rules of the game, right? But it totally even the whatever force that acts upon Mega Man to destroy him when he's inside a wall, even that can't touch you if you've got your iframe.
No, that's for if I pee. Oh wait.
Hey man, they do call them invulnerability frames,
I mean, it's
so
one unabsorbed suck.
you just can't die?
That's really the problem.
Meanwhile, on Slurpee's screen, he hasn't died, man. He is over a minute ahead of his splits right now, so a very good pace for him.
Wow.
I imagine this is, probably 39 capable. Obviously, it's very early and many things to come, but I'm sure he's very pleased with how his first 6 have played out.
Yeah, it's early, but at the same time, like he's passed a lot of hard stuff, right? So he has overcome some major hurdles and is still sporting that great time. So I really
Yeah,
like the spot he's in.
It's kind of interesting because now he's kind of like, I wouldn't say dive stage is certainly no pushover, but he's definitely in kind of like I would say like the easier part of the run at the moment. So as a result, like, do you get into this like, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like very safe now, like as you're getting through the stages, or do you like maybe feel a little bit more nervous, thinking like, oh, well, you know, what could possibly go wrong, and then like, oh wait, something is gonna go wrong, like I can feel it, right? Like this is supposed to be easy, so something is gonna go wrong. So how does that kind of play into his sort of feeling as he's going through it?
Wow, it's obviously not bothering him too much. He just got a 1-jump mash on the whale. Extremely well done.
That is really impressive. I wish I could say I could do that, but I cannot.
Yeah, while there are very few people, period, who can, right? Like it really is just that hard. It's one of those things where, like, I can mash hard enough to do it, but that's if I'm channeling my entire body and soul through one stiff arm into a finger into one button, and I stop breathing and I go red in the face or whatever. Like, then I can mash hard enough, but feathering the jump button the way that you need to stay in the height that you need to and not missing any shots by firing too early, it complicates things, and it is just that hard.
Very interesting on Slurpy's screen. He did run out of ring ammo for dive, and I guess he didn't know that dust is also a very effective weapon against dive. It does 3 damage a hit. So instead he opted to switch to the Buster, which, you know, isn't really costing him much time because Dive Man had 4 health left, so it didn't really cost much time. But it just kind of goes to show you that, like, you know, when you are kind of a newer runner to this game, there may be some of those, like, interesting quirks that runners who have a lot of experience playing the game may know, and he may not.
Yeah, those blind spots for sure. And it mattered a little bit, just a couple of seconds or whatever, but it is, it's always strange to be like, this person's got a lot of experience. Just trust me that it helps, right? Because it's very hard to find all the little things where it matters, and it's kind of nice that we had like a nice concrete thing to be able to point out there. So Antlers and Slurpy seem to be the only 2 runners who have really got something going on. Off stream is Cab and Moniker currently. Moniker is in ring, Cab also in ring. No, sorry, that is Dust. I had all the text highlighted over and just saw some of that light blue. So that's pretty decently far along, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up back on stream pretty soon. Cab ends up on stream a lot because he's always got a run going because he's so darn consistent.
Yep.
There we go.
It's like, honestly, I remember like a tournament I was in, the Mega Man 3 tournament, and we were doing group stages for that format, and Cab was in my group stage, and man, let me tell you, I was very nervous for that race because we had very similar PBs at the time. You know, I may have done like some more faster and difficult strats than him, but that consistency, you know, and especially for me at the time, I was a very new Mega Man 3 runner. I mean, still am a new Mega Man 3 runner, but you know, I hadn't really played the game much, so you know, going up against somebody like him when you don't have that experience is very, very, very scary thinking about. So
Yeah, knowing that if you mess up, like, he's probably not, right? So
Right.
every mistake starts to feel that much worse than it is.
Little mistake there, no big deal.
Slurpy's out of Drill Man. Antler is kind of right on his previous pace with a really late flash here, maybe hoping to have the bullets be out of the way. But even the turrets themselves are pretty difficult to navigate there. I think the ideal backup is to take the damage and then slide on the spikes.
Yeah, that would probably be the best thing to do, but I think at this point maybe Antler's just like is kind of cognizant of the fact that, listen, I don't need to have the best run out there, so I just need to kind of like get something going, get a decent time, and then we can go from there, maybe heading into like the final like run that he does.
That was dumb.
So we're gonna find out what kind of pattern Drillman is gonna give us.
Close around.
Meanwhile, Slurpee's sliding through Toadman and Treble Star. We were talking about, like, you know, are they happy about the run, the good run they were able to put up early, or are they starting to get frustrated at not being able to produce one better? And we saw some of those frustrations coming through for Treble Star.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically been in Brightman the entire time he's been on stream almost. So that's, like, as a speedrunner, that's frustrating to anyone, really, right? So, like, no matter, like, what you did beforehand, like, it's just super frustrating to constantly be resetting and being on the same stage for, like, you know, minutes or hours or whatever it may be.
It's going to be on the Speed Gaming family of networks. I'm sure most of you
Antlers
have heard of
plus 13 coming out of Drill here, but going to continue on. Has some time to save in the later stages.
We're going to have like a little challenge cup for him.
Yeah, I think I
Slurpee
remember.
got hit by the fish there. It's a little scary when those spikes are down there, but he's okay.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he has a good time as well. Yeah, I think I remember Antlers did had a death in the Cossack 3, the auto scroller stage. May have had a death elsewhere, so definitely has a lot of time to save in the latter half of his run.
themselves are going to be playing.
Slurpee's done with the 8 robos, 19, 10, 11 or ish.
Yeah, we'll play 1910.
Right now is also being
Solid time.
on
Antlers also now in Toadman stage.
/Speed Gaming. So if you are interested in seeing the whole thing, feel free to pop over there. And we say thanks for stopping by. But if you want to watch this and see how I do for trying
Mr.
to
Cab
catch up
disposing
with
of
this,
Skullman.
welcome aboard.
He's after 2 good runs. Looks like he's still going to be in the green coming out of Skull here. Yep.
Solid.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
at this
got it
point,
on the brackets.
I'd be curious to see what Mr. Cab's mentality is, because, like, obviously he has a very good time now,
Game Boy
and
Palace.
it's going to be
Strawberry Bananas is
very
Game Boy
difficult
Palette.
for him to save time over his previous run. So, you know, obviously he's 2 seconds ahead, that's great, but, like, what is his threshold for reset? Is he going to be like +5, +10, be like, it's not worth it? Or is he going to be like +30, +45, be like, whatever, I can still go. Maybe, like, something can happen in the later
I
half
like
of the run.
bananas. Bananas don't like me.
Yeah,
If I eat
it's
a banana, my
well, I mean, I would say 30, 45 reset, 5 don't, but where is the line, right? Like,
Right.
50, is it 15, is it 20? Very hard to
Joe
say.
Finley thinks, like, it's got to be because I drink too much Pepsi, and so the potassium's reacting. I don't think that's what's actually happening.
Toad about to get put down by Antlers. Gonna have a very similar 8 robo time as Slurpee, actually. 1914, maybe 13.
1914, so 4 seconds behind Slurpee's time, so
That's
both on pretty similar paces. Maybe we can get an idea of what pace Antlers is on as we see Slurpee kind of get through the later stages.
But it's more the
Slurpee
boss
doing a little
arc,
left-right
especially
and
with
Cossack
Drill,
1 there to
Square
sort of
Machine,
despawn
Skull,
an enemy in a troublesome position there, and then switching to the balloons. So here we go for this difficult section. Got stuck using the balloon on the ground. There's a little animation associated with that, and I think it because he pressed his B input before his A input. You kind of want them to come out almost at the same time, so it's a pretty easy mistake to make.
Favorite classic Mega Man
Let's see
game
how
was
Slurpee does in the
probably actually this
Mothra
one.
fight here. Has a fair amount of health. Missing that first hit, which, again, as Myth was alluding to earlier, it is very hard to kind of consistently get your hits there. You see where he fired that ring at the top, and Mothra just went a little bit above that ring, so nope, you don't get to get hit. So yeah, it could be a very, very annoying fight.
5-man defeated for Mr. Cab. I think he's still on that good pace. Antlers, his turn for Cossack 1 here.
Look at that.
We're gonna get a look at
Really, like,
that
I'm a
left-right
Mega Man
again
junkie, so I like
pretty
all those
soon
games.
before we get into that vertical climb. We haven't seen... It's gone good for everyone, basically, that screen. They've kind of done a good job at hiding how difficult this screen really is. Or maybe it's more about just how punishing it is if it goes
They're
wrong.
awesome, but then you have to actually try and implement them.
So we are past the 2-hour mark, so we have less than an hour to go. So at this point, you know, obviously, like, for Slurpee and for Antlers, and Mr. Cat for sure, you know, they can get this run going, finish it off, and see what they can do for their next attempts. But, for somebody like Credible who's just beginning, if he gets a run down here, he still has maybe a couple more minutes to get a run going. So, they're starting to get to the point where they have to, make some decisions. Like, do I continue this run or I just reset for a better run until I'm happy with one that has a good beginning?
That's a really good beginning to.
Yeah, there's like some breakpoints, right? Where like I can finish a whole run and then try to get another one.
Yeah,
Whereas,
if you have to,
once
pick a game
once the timer
so
ticks
it's
past,
normal,
45,
6
40 minutes,
is
whatever
another
it
thing
is,
that people like to start
that's when
out
you're
on.
like, I'm only gonna get
much
one
like
more,
any speedrunning
right?
endeavor,
And it might be now, it might be
start
40
with the
minutes from
game
now,
you find
but
most
I'm
fun.
only gonna
There's
get
absolutely
one
nothing
more,
wrong with
and
starting on
that
3 or 4 or even
can be an
1.
interesting
One is a
feeling
very
and thought to kind of deal with as
glitch
you're playing.
sort of game. And it can be a lot of
It
fun
is
if
worth
that's what you're
noting,
looking
of
for in
course,
speedrunning.
that when the timer hits 0, the competitors are allowed to finish whatever run they are on. So, it is certainly a strategy to just reset until, like, a few seconds before that deadline and then just roll with the punches.
Still have a lot of fun with the game, still execute a lot of the tricks. You just won't be as
There's that
fast
damage boost section for antlers with the
going to
balloons.
be at first anyway. Not many people are as fast as Quincy.
Went good this time. I think this was maybe a death for antlers, or it went wrong in some way, I think, on his PB. So
Oh, yeah. That went really wrong.
Right.
That is. It also could be possible that he maybe split wrong or something like that. But yeah, that's an 8-minute C2. That's a long time.
I don't think it was though. I think
Normal is-
something really bad happened, and it just didn't this time. So I think we're on the cusp of a gigantic improvement.
Your weapons do double damage.
Exactly what Antler
So
really
you
kind of
will
needs. I
crash through
think
the
they,
game. The only
they've
time you
known
lose
for the past 2 hours
from,
that they're capable of so much better than they have, and it can be
English
frustrating
text,
when you
because there is
just can't
no Japanese
you just can't produce it, but
normal difficulty.
is really starting to get there now.
Difficult on the English cart is the only difficulty available on the Japanese cart.
Kerbal Star is out of the first 2 stages.
Oh my
It's entering
goodness.
Yeah,
Alert the presses.
We got rain pushing us back here.
I see a green number too. So
Some of these jumps
Good.
are a little fun. Seeming like
Hopefully he's able to continue producing and get to see more play out of him.
we'll see what happens with Square Machine for Antlers here. I think that was a 2 on the first cycle.
Granny straps.
Yeah, that was
the
the
second
second
cycle, sorry.
Yep.
Cut it pretty low on his health, but used his resource effectively. And gosh, how many minutes did he just save? 5 minutes?
Yeah, I want to guess that was like an incorrect split.
Pretty much every,
Because like
Mega
a normal
Man
C2 is like
don't-
something like
There-
220,
there's
230, something
a-
like
a
that. So
difficulty, there's a
I
learning
don't think
curve.
he died 5 times and has
No.
5 minutes.
I was gonna say like a game over, but even a game over, that's doing the whole stage twice is more. Yeah,
But
you're right.
actually,
You're
the
right.
basics, the
So,
basics.
yeah, my guess is like he combined his C2 and C3 splits by accident.
There's gonna be little things that are different across all of them.
But yeah,
Cossack
regardless,
3.
Context
he
is-
does
Well, I
have
was
a
gonna
lot of
say
time to-
like not much going on with Cossack 3. I'm gonna look at someone else, and then I remembered that Antlers died on this stage. So this
It's
is
true.
going to be an important stage, and it's the kind of thing like that can get in your head a little bit. It definitely gets in my head when I make a sort of odd mistake.
The biggest
I'm
transition
thinking about it
is,
constantly when I get up to it next time, and
does or does not
it
have slides.
can be the kind of thing that can be difficult to get over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said we need to be
Especially for like a
before
stage like
9:30.
Cossack 3 where it's an auto scroller. Like, nothing is supposed to go wrong. You don't have to go fast, you just have to follow the screen. So that's why it's like especially like frustrating when you have a death on a stage like this.
Kerbal Star is back in bright. That run that got to ring didn't really get off the
Two does
ground.
not have sliding.
Slurpee Ninja's into
So
the
one
boss
and
of
two
Cossack
don't
3
have
here,
sliding,
getting that
but
nice diagonal
fun
shot.
zips.
Yeah, that is going to
Actually
connect on the
makes it a
bottom
lot
right
of fun.
cockroach.
A lot of people start with
Only
Little
thing
bit
that-
slow here, didn't get a full
I don't
charge
know where
shot
it was
there,
yet, and
so
it
they have to
was-
hit an
It's
extra
not
hit, but
bad
that's
idea
okay.
for your first
A
run,
big
just to
steal in
kind
the
of get a feel for
The other
game.
thing that happens is,
You'll
I guess
certainly
there's
learn a lot
2
of
kinds
stuff.
of shots that the
There's a lot of
cockroach
strings
can
that are
shoot. One of them that
basically
kind of
the exact
fans
same
out, and one
thing.
that is more of a
And then you
straightforward
start
projectile.
adding the zips.
And the
Start
one that
adding
fans
the
out
easy
is
three
almost
zips,
always
then
going to
start
kind of hit
adding
you
trash
from below, so
screen two
it
zips,
will
and you just keep going.
cost just a little bit of
So eventually
time
you
to sort of
have
take that hit and wait out
time that's
the
just about to
knockback
occur.
animation.
Oh no.
But it's no big deal. As long as you've got the health to take the hit, I guess. But you totally should.
Should be noted that Mr. Cap is on pretty good pace. He had 1842 kill on Toad, which is his best so
So,
far,
the problem
and
now
that is
is
definitely going to put
what
him
the
on
skeleton next
good
to
pace. Obviously, he's 12 seconds ahead of his 8 splits, and he can definitely save even more time in the second half of the game. So who knows? Maybe we're gonna see another good time out of Mr. Cat.
He's already so close to his PB. But I better just leave it there and instead talk about Antlers, who hasn't had the greatest opening to the cockroach fight here. I think.
Yeah, he's unfortunately
using
a little bit more ammo than he wanted to, but it's not too bad. You know, worst case scenario, he gets a safety drop in one of the later stages. But yeah, this is okay.
And now I think we're going to get a feel for like really what kind of pace he's on. We're not going to get a plus-minus here because he doesn't have a split here, but remember that 29-ish thing he was comparing against before, I think you're right. I think it was supposed to be around this split, so I think he is about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I want to say anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes ahead at this point.
That's a lot of minutes. Any amount of minutes is a lot to be ahead. And he's 3 minutes ahead. Well, maybe. We'll see. Mr. Cab still ahead. Is bleeding a little bit of time after Mothraya there in Cossack 1, but still in the green.
PB and the gold split. Square Machine is a boss that is like, it's not completely RNG.
It's just very RNG.
At least, like, it's something between 5.
Appreciate the conversation, Mr. Cab.
There is, you know, it's easy to overlook the amount of skill required in landing all of the hits each cycle, and even, you know, beyond getting the 2 cycle, there's getting, you know, only needing you know, 2 or 3 hits or whatever to clean up the second cycle. So it really is difficult to land all the hits while dodging the shots on the moving platforms.
Yep.
You know, Split's PB did.
Also, Slurpee is over a minute ahead of his PB right now as he heads to the Wily stages, so we can keep an eye on that.
Yowza. That's also a really big number, especially this late into a run.
Unfortunately for Mr. Cab, one thing to note is he is very low on health. He's going to take things a little bit safe here in this screen. 100% going to pick up that extra refill in the screen after this one. So probably going to lose a little bit more time as well on the split. Unless he just gets, you know, the 1-1 square machine. Then he doesn't lose any time.
Yeah, I think his approach to that previous screen where he kind of went, you know, far to the right and up and around all those spikes. That's the kind of thing where, again, your experience and being comfortable with the game really helps you kind of think up that kind of stuff on the fly, or maybe even have that ready to go as a backup strat. And a lesser player might have gone for something and died there, so it does make a difference.
There's a decent chunk of time to save there. Of course, we start with the bad.
So it looks like Antlers is going to be hitting that split button in just a moment. So it looks like he's about 2.5 minutes ahead. So very solid pace.
It's just immediately a time.
You gotta feel good about it, but at the same time, you know, it's been a long time since you've had a run this deep, especially one this good. So okay, great John. I was looking at and cut that jump and drill pretty close. But you know, timer's getting low now, and so Antlers knows if this one is not the one he needs, he's only gonna have really one more shot at getting it. The pressure, it's a factor for sure. So we'll see how Antlers copes with that.
Caps off a little bit low for Square Machine, but he was able to conquer it, no problem. So he'll be moving up. Does have the red now. It's like plus 18, I believe, on his splits. So we'll see. You know, it doesn't seem like that's his threshold for resetting.
Looks like he's trying to do some math, I guess. Looking ahead, trying to on his splits and scouting out, like, you know, how bad is 18 here? What do I have to save?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Antlers almost got that tight jump here in Wily 1 down to the bathtub, whereas Slurpee Ninja's onto the boss, trying to get away with a slide or something, but got hit twice there.
Yeah, he's in a dangerous territory with his health right now. As long as he doesn't get hit by the Met Daddy again, he should be fine. So he should be okay now.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, he could take the hit. I wasn't sure. It was close, but he is okay.
Then Antlers falling right behind Slurpee. Full health, full ring. That's what you want us.
Because this is, you know, a serious time tournament, they did want us to do a silly little thing, and that's why I made sure.
Alright, looks like everything went well for Antlers with this Daddy fight. Was able to get the proper patterns for the 3 cycles, so won't be losing any time.
Just one of those.
It has the
you're not a
health to
task,
take
right?
the hit too.
Kinda
She's like,
things.
I'm not even moving. Just whatever. I'm just gonna press this B
That
button.
drop.
Still on great
Drops are
pace.
always fun, 'cause you will just
Great
get
John's
slots.
got a run going as well. I'm seeing at least some 2-digit green numbers in some of the earlier stages, and is now here in Toad. I think that's about 4.5 seconds ahead. I don't think we mentioned, we talked about Toad stage being hard because of the way the water and the rain kind of push you around in various directions, but flashing these snails as you drop down is, it's not free. If you mistime it, you can end up having to mash them down, and then damage boosting past them can be pretty risky on that second one. There is a gap that you can fall into, and so you kind of got to decide if you're going to go for kind of like a turnaround sort of thing that will kind of keep you on the top platform, or accept that you're going to get knocked down and hold left so you don't end up in that hole.
There is also the unfortunate consequence of if you flash the absolute frame that you enter the screen, you, I believe, end up soft locking the game. So that is also another thing you don't want to do.
This is special enough.
I forgot whether it's you have to die or you soft lock. It's one of the two. Either way, it's not good.
Yeah, I'd imagine the one with the hole, you could always just drop into the hole.
I thought I saw one of those shots was too small.
Alright, Mr. Cab done with the cockroach. Slurpy Ninja has been going with these aggressive taco trash fights here, and it looks like it's going to work out for him. He's still good on ring ammo, too. Ooh, that was gold. Better than all the others.
Okay.
In theory, I could reset here and try and get these 20 seconds back.
It's currently 33
What
seconds
is
ahead of the
literally enough.
splits.
I'm with Cove.
But I do imagine he has a little bit of time to save here, so definitely get it up there.
See how he's going to approach these refills here. Obviously needs a good chunk more ring back. But there's you can cut some corners here. You can pick up less refills for certain things.
Step into the ladder so
I
can
don't
actually jump
think it's
because of the way the game
much a good idea in this sort of situation. But there are some really aggressive players I might see do that kind of thing, and Slurpee is pretty aggressive.
That is true.
Handler's now also into the refights, also on great pace here. And I think has time to save in the refights as well.
I would say his refights split is pretty decent compared to his PB. Certainly can save time if he has a really good refights, but I wouldn't be like super confident in him saving time. But still, he's on a really good pace right now for his, relative to his PB.
So the trick with the Cossack catcher is every time
Great
you
John
slide,
in Cossack
the
1,
AI
pulling out the
just
balloons.
tells it to stop moving.
Always a scary moment.
So you can just slide
Taking a bit of time to place these balloons on the ground. I'm actually worried he's going to get clamped here. No, okay, he's more than fine. I don't have a great feeling for when those things actually
Everybody
close.
follows too. I see them popping up on the little Twitch alerts events list over here.
Alright, well he's through. No one's fallen on that screen. Not at all. It couldn't possibly happen to anyone.
Speedrun
You're right.
you're gonna see a lot
Over
of
the
Mega
next
Man
42
Mario
minutes.
Here. A little Zelda 1 randomizer, although there's a lot of Final Fantasy.
Alright, we got some
7
refights.
remakes
Slurpee with the
happening,
skull,
so
going to
just
work on
very
Bright a little bit here
curious. I played the original.
before switching to
Before
Toad's
I
weapon.
got to the remake yet.
Like we talked about, skipping over those HP thresholds to avoid getting flashed. Brightman was working his way pretty far to the right side of the screen, but with all these jumps, he's going wherever he wants, but ends up not taking away that left side of the screen away from Slurpee.
Antler's having a very slow Skullman. Skullman gave him the absolute worst shield
What time
possible,
is
so
your
it's never fun.
Nice on the low 40.
Doing a good job on dive here. And totally full on health, doesn't even need to consider grabbing the refill. But I suppose it's Drillman that both the runners are really worried about. Slurpee immediately
Just wanna
gets a
make sure
dive
everybody
here.
here from,
It's had a couple
Florida
dives already.
knows what our schedule is, because I don't know I don't know what the schedule is.
All right.
I want to say Friday afternoon is the next one.
Antler's done with Brightman. His turn for Drillman.
Wow, that was fast. Why can't I play the
3,
stage like this?
4. I guess he jumps a bit late, so it's normally 5 jumps, but he does get an immediate dive again.
All right.
Come on, yeah.
Getting that energy refill for safety. I mean, he could have not gotten it, but I think at the health that he has, it's probably too risky not to get the drop.
Skull Heat. Skull Heat is next. That's the next.
It's interesting though, because like you could kind of wait and see how some of the other boss fights go, and then potentially grab one of the other health drops. But then there's no guarantee that health drop's going to be in a good place for you to pick it up quickly. So, in the interest of just like not losing this run after, 2 hours or whatever, this really good 3 minutes ish ahead run, I'd want to capitalize on that as much as I could. Here's Wily Machine for Slurpee. Had low health there at the end, but closed it out.
Is on 40 pace for sure with this run.
Let's go. Air Tiwi. Yo, Benqua, how's it going?
Cab is inching away. He's clawing at his time. He's now plus 14, down from plus 20. So maybe he's able to sneak in another PB again.
Yeah, I really liked his approach, like looking at the splits and just kind of mentally doing some math about how much time you could realistically save, and kind of came to the conclusion that, you know what, I think I can. So he's kind of proving himself right a little bit here so far. Antlers on the Wily Machine here has done a good job with detonating all of his shots, and because he had all of that health, he was able to take and make use of that for some damage boosts. Eyes on Slurpee now for this capsule fight.
There we go.
Up in the top right corner, and gets hit, so not even able to throw there. Good reaction to the bottom left corner. And the double, not quite. He was really high up.
Very low on ammo. He has to be super careful here. All right, he can only fire one more. Oh no!
I think he panicked a little bit. Okay,
He
doesn't know.
he
We saw
doesn't
this
know.
earlier. We saw
Doesn't
this
know.
in a previous race, that ring is the thing. So once he finally lands a shot, which who knows when it will be, it's going to tink off. And he's
Yeah.
just going to go ahead and die, actually.
Very unfortunate.
Oh,
But
ring,
I know we do have Antlers coming up with a PB, potentially.
Yeah, if we
See if
could,
maybe we can,
it'll be tough to switch back in time, I think. But that's all right. Here we go. Here's the capsule fight. Nice. They know.
I saw
They
that
know what they're
a
doing
little
back
too
there.
late, sorry.
Very low in health, taking a few hits there, and okay, getting the double. It's awesome.
Oh, come on, Antlers.
All right, he's got it.
Nice.
Oh
Oh, the double kill!
no! No, the double!
Oh, I forgot about the double.
Oh no!
What is his Pharaoh ammo situation? It's not enough, is it?
He has enough. He has enough. As long as he is cognizant of the fact that he can do like basically what he has to do is he has to let the Pharaoh charge and let Wily get hit by it before he throws it. Because by doing that, he will not use ammo doing it. So basically, he'll be conserving a lot more ammo doing it that way. He'll have to do it at least a couple of times. Yeah, so he's very aware of what he needs to do. So he should be okay as long as he kind of sticks to that and doesn't get hit.
Oh, that is excellent. That is excellent play, except for when he just threw the
That,
projectile.
that
at
wasn't
nothing.
the best. That's okay.
That was less than excellent.
Okay, no problem. That's good.
I think Slurpee's just playing for the game over here.
Oh no. Okay, he has to do it every single time now.
There's one.
Imagine getting screwed over by
No, he fired it. No.
Ring.
He
He
doesn't
knows
have
it's
ring.
ring.
He doesn't have enough. Ring
it
only
doesn't-
does one damage.
Oh, yeah, he just can't. He just can't.
Oh no.
And rather than try to game over and then come back again, he's just going to reset and just do it better. He's only got enough time for one more run.
Pharaoh,
He knows he's
standing
capable
right in front
of a really big improvement. He's just got to try to make it happen on his next run.
Two Wily capsule runs, or 2 runs destroyed by Wily capsule back to back. That was heartbreaking.
And Slurpee as well. This is the second run lost really deep into the run on good pace. And again, when I'm saying one last run, I may be a bit misleading here. You have 35 minutes to get a run started, and then after that timer hits 0, you can finish out the run that you're currently on. It's just that if you started a run here, you couldn't finish it and then do another, right? So you're only going to finish one more time.
Be a little careful.
Yeah, exactly. So, at this point, like, if they, start another run, they have plenty of time to reset and, see how their runs are doing, kind of, like, play by the ear. And if they get a run that they like, they just kind of stick with it and, like, just roll with it.
Mr. Cab has been steadily improving for the past 4 stages or so, clawing back this 20 seconds, like you said. Drillman is going to play a big role in whether or not this PB happens.
He needs to get, a very good refights time here, because I was looking at his capsule split. His capsule split is pretty strong, so he's going to need everybody to play nice.
Okay, he's missing some shots, but he also didn't get any dives, so I think that was better overall. Slurpee's back to try out the capsule here with all this health. It's not going to be an improvement, but I think he just kind of wants to kill Dr. Wily, So he does. 44-49, I think there is going to be the time.
We've got to focus on this now. It was so far so good in refights, honestly. Dust is going to ruin it, though. Because that's Dust's job, to be the stopper.
Is Mega Man 4 a game with lots of zips and stuff like Mega Man 2, or is it more of a pure technical thing? Technical, I would use to describe both of them. I guess what you're saying is more like it's less about glitches and more about not glitches, just, something more similar to the way that you'd typically play the game. And yeah, I think that's true compared to Mega Man 2.
Yeah, they're both technical in their own
bad,
rights.
but I mean,
Executing zips does not mean that it is an easy run by any means.
It's awful. There's nothing you can do about it. And you're just stuck
I think there's something to be said for the sliding and the charging. Those mechanics require just more inputs. You just need to press more buttons. Your hands and fingers need to be in more places on the controller, and that will kind of, I think, add an element of technicality, I guess, that isn't present in Mega Man 2, but I think you would need to be a pretty high-level runner at both games to really kind of appreciate which was more technical, which is already kind of a nebulous definition.
Mr. Kev about to split. He's going to be a couple seconds, 1.5 seconds behind, so
I mean, it's still great.
he's going to need to have the absolute best possible capsule. We're talking about, like, 2 double hits, and, like, the 3rd hit is, like, really free in order for him to PB, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not even like 2 double hits. It's like the first 2 are the first 2 double hits, right?
Definitely possible. Definitely possible.
And he does already have a 3-cycle capsule in his run. Both his capsules and his Wily machines were very good. Well, he's gone ahead and pre-typed LOL.
I like that. I like that.
I guess for him it wasn't pre-typed. For him it was like afterwards, but like we'll see. We'll see what it means. That's a double.
All right, that's a start.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no!
Come on!
Oh no!
Oh.
He actually, I think, would have saved time there. I think he would have saved time.
He went for it. Now he's gonna finish off with ring.
2 in a row.
Oh no!
I'm glad he's enjoying himself though. Sometimes these things are so tense and stressful, and it's nice to see someone clearly having a lot of fun. I guess it's easier to have fun when you're winning, but still.
All right.
Oh, I think he's pulling the plug entirely. He's happy with
guess
what he's
so.
done. He's got 31 minutes left, but
done.
no, that took it out of him, I guess. He's
I'm
done.
happy with this time. We're good.
Okay.
So
Well, you heard
thanks
it
for
from the
having
man
me.
himself.
I see everybody's over there too. Go watch this.
All right.
while
Well,
you're talking.
welcome, Mr. Cab fans.
I'm gonna give whoever's actually
good job.
managing this over there. a
GG
second
for sure.
too, But you've all been
GG,
great.
congratulations on the time. I'm sure you are happy with the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stopped streaming.
Yeah, there's two reasons why you might stop early. One is that you're happy, and one is that you're really not. And this is definitely the former. Moniker is into Skull, but Great John deep into another run. I'm seeing plenty of green and gold going on over there. Let me try to zoom in and get a number here. I guess we're 2 seconds ahead. Or no, is that 2 minutes? That's a colon. I think he's 2 minutes ahead.
Let me see if I can take a look. I'm gonna do some investigation.
Okay. What a difference that one little pixel makes as to how you're doing.
I think a lot of that time lost was because I didn't remember where I was on my boss select.
All right, so
Great John actually visiting Eddie there to get a little pickup of some sort.
Yeah, Great John is 2 minutes and 18 seconds ahead currently.
Heck yeah.
Oh boy.
Moniker falls here, and Dive has to. His flash is going to run out at a time he's not used to here, but he's ready to just reflash immediately. Nicely done. I was trying to work in one of those left-right slides there. It's so difficult to save time with those. Your left-right needs to be so good, otherwise you spend too much time walking backwards like all the distance you just slid, right? So the short slides, extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's almost something that basically I would really only recommend like Mega Man 6 runners because they have so much experience with the turn canceling. 'Cause otherwise, it's just like you don't do it enough to really get that sort of like muscle memory in there. Unfortunately, Krebel taking a death to Ringman, so I thought we were going to see some more action from him, but unfortunately not, but that's okay. Still got time to reset a few more times.
I hope Krebel's not too frustrated here, because the reason he's having such a tough time getting a run going is because he just set the bar really high for himself on a really good first run.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I think his time should be good enough to get him into the top 32 at least, so, even if the rest of the stream didn't, plan out as well as he had hoped, he still has to be happy, I'm sure, with, making it to the top 32 and, having a pretty good time, all things considered.
Yeah, sitting in 9th currently. I would be very, very surprised if he ended up outside the top 32 by the end of this. But there are still a fair number of players left to play, so I could definitely see anyone currently sitting in the middle of the leaderboard being a little uncomfortable about where they're at. All right, Great John is on fantastic pace here. This is something much closer to what they're really capable of. Actually, their PB is like a 42.55. All right, maybe that would be a lot to ask, but can certainly get a great deal closer on this run.
Yeah, just looking at their split time, they have a 5:12 on the refights, so I would say, decently average for his skill level. Certainly can get better. And then his Wily 4 split is, again, I can save a little bit of time there, so, we're probably looking at a 43 from him, I think, if everything goes well.
Pharaoh was playing mostly pretty nice. Then he went all the way to the end of the screen and made it difficult to land the shot from far away, which is unfortunately because you kind of don't care where he goes during the fight. You just want him to be easy to hit at the end of the fight so you can be on top of the capsule. Taking some damage from Skull. Is going to go ahead and pick up the refill. Also was a little bit far away from the capsule.
Nice, there we go.
But the shield length was pretty short, so I think pretty average there. The other runners trying to get something started here in their last 25 minutes.
Alright. This might be a gold. Alright.
Moniker with the gold.
It's always nice when you start your run off with a gold split on the first stage.
Brightman landing some hits on John. Your health certainly is an important, resource thing to be managed in this fight. Picks up the refill. Here we go, on to Drillman. Three, four, and then the fifth jump. Alright,
the
one
classic.
That's
dive.
actually pretty good. That's my best time yet.
Oh, and a drunk missile there. Does manage to find its target, but there's another dive.
317 balloon get.
Playing it safe, opting to get that refill there. Probably could have gotten the Toad refill instead, but I respect it.
Yeah, you could see the hesitation of like, I should go, maybe I shouldn't, and then doubled back. It's always fun when you can kind of get a feel for what a player is thinking just by their gameplay.
Seems like he opted to do the ring fight first instead of Toad.
Beautiful.
Well, it went well.
It might be like a strategy by him that he uses, because like he feels like he might take too much damage in ring or something like that. So does it first, and picks the health drop there if he needs to.
Yeah, it doesn't really change the menus, right? Like you're switching to one, and then you're switching to the other, and then you're switching to a third thing. So the only difference is the travel time between capsules, and that's pretty minor. So if you think it gives you a pretty big advantage in terms of managing your health, absolutely could be worth it.
All right, full health, pretty good ring ammo heading into the fight, so should be good.
The cap is done. Off stream, there's still Antlers, who is in Bright, also trying to get a run off the ground. So everyone in the first few stages, except for Great John. He is the one on fantastic pace, super late into the run. Took one hit there and missed one ring, but otherwise his Wily capsule, or machine rather, has gone really well. A couple of hesitations here. And his damage boosts are not really working to his advantage, right? Like if you take a hit right after you attack, you're kind of almost back ready to land your next hit without much delay.
Also,
Kinda
the important part about this fight is it isn't the drill that does damage to the boss. It's actually the explosion of the drill. So, by taking that hit, you can't necessarily like do that explosion in time, or you might do it like too early or something like that, and it just like costs you that missed hit opportunity. So
That would put me.
All the same,
17th if I can get it.
he's done and moving on. Only lost 5 seconds through that whole sequence. What kind of capsule fight are we going to get? I was going to say, like, it's going to be a big improvement. It's just a question of how much, but the capsule has ruined a lot of people so far.
it's true. Never say it's done.
Come on. Let's go. All right. That was a miss. Went just under. Can be frustrating.
Double hit.
All right, double hit.
Oh, nice. He called the double hit, too.
I like it.
One more.
You hear it.
No. Okay. He's going to hold on to it.
There
Gets
we
it.
go. All right.
354.
Sub 44. There you go.
Nice job. The admins are going to
Man, these are kill
retime
runs.
everything and
That's
make sure
within a minute of my PB.
it goes where it needs to, but within a minute of his PB
break and I may
is
do
this is a lot closer to the time we were hoping to see from Greyjohn.
Yeah, if I can
Yeah.
get through
I would say, like,
those,
for this competition, you know, generally speaking, for a lot of these runners, being within a minute of your PB is probably what you're aiming for, and if you could do better than that, then that's just like icing on the cake.
Yep, totally. All right, so a couple runs, meanwhile, have got out of the first 2 stages. We're looking at some Ringman here. Also notable that it's Krebelstar who's got past Ringman stage here now. I think it's been a long time since we saw a Dustman stage from Krebelstar.
At this point, maybe he's trying to do try to get a little bit farther, because he knows he has a few more minutes to reset, so, you know, maybe he can kind of get a little bit more feel for the later part of the game, and, you know, if it doesn't go well, just reset and try again.
He's only like plus 0.07 too, so despite the red number, he's basically right there with his previous run. We also got dust from Moniker. It's kind of close, almost a bit of a race here on the top of the screen. Krevel playing a bit slow on those laggy rising block section. Lag is tough. It changes the feel of things, and so much of the rhythm you have when you're doing these slide inputs, chaining them together as closely as you can, depends on that sort of muscle memory rhythm feel thing, and that kind of goes out the window through this section, and so that makes it that much harder.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest struggle, right? It's like when you don't have as much experience with it. Like, you know, when you slide normally, like in, 90% of the other parts of the game, you develop that muscle memory from doing the same thing over and over. But, like, in these specific situations when there's so much lag, you don't get that much experience practicing it. So it's a lot more difficult for you to kind of like have those optimal movement, optimal slides in those specific situations.
Krebel's onto the dust fight now. Has the health to take one of those hits to stop a suction, but not going to be able to do it again if it happens. But it doesn't.
All right, the run continues. I like it.
That's pretty slow, actually.
Let's see how it goes for Moniker.
Closer to under 9, but
they're weighing up their position with their pace here. They're trying to figure out. The question starts to come up like, should I reset? I've only got 18 minutes, and you got to figure out how far behind are you, how much time is there left to save, and I don't know. I'd rather not think about that stuff, right? I'd rather just play the game. So I definitely understand if those decisions are really hard to make.
It's just like we're in this weird territory right now, right? We have 18 minutes to go, so they know they can't finish a run and get another run. But at the same time, they have a little bit of room for wiggle to, get to a few more stages and keep going and see like how we're doing. Is this the run that I'm gonna keep? Is it the next run? Is it the run after? Like, it's just this is like definitely I feel like the most like difficult sort of time period of the heat to figure out what you're doing.
It's really easy to be like, oh yeah, 18 minutes, like. I can get something started that's faster than this in 18 minutes, and then you just don't, right? Like you end up having to take something that started out slower than this run or whatever, right? And it's I don't know. You have to make some kind of really difficult assessment about your skill and your play and your mood and your mindset, and factor all of that in. And I really think there's no good answer. I think you kind of just got to do what your heart tells you.
I think that's really it. It's all about what you're comfortable with, what you feel is the best move to make. Like, don't question yourself, don't second guess yourself. You just do whatever it is that comes to your mind and you feel comfortable with that, just run with it. I think the person that's probably struggling the most with this right now is Antlers, because, most of these runners by this point, obviously Krebel hasn't like set another run since he got his first time, but his first time was also really good. So he doesn't really feel as much pressure. But like for Antlers, he hasn't been able to set that sort of run yet that he's really expecting to hit. So at this point, it's like, what is his game plan right now? Is he gonna just kind of reset through the early game until he gets the early game that he likes? Because his time save isn't from the early game. His early game is fine. His 8 robot split is certainly reasonable. It's all from the second half. So what's the game plan? Does he just take a mediocre, first 2 stages, or does he just keep resetting until like he's okay with it?
That's because I had to go get the health of shame.
It's so tough. For now, he's in Pharaoh, his second stage on his route. He does Bright first. He was 1 second behind after Bright. And just looking at the eyeballing the splits and the rest of the Pharaoh fight here, it didn't seem like anything to reset over, and then he got hit twice. So even still, I think you would at least go to Ring, at least go to Dust, and see what happens there. I think.
Yeah, for me personally, I think if I was Antlers, I would just take this run as far as I can, and then once you're about to hit the 0-second mark, you determine at that point, is this the run that I want, or should I just reset and try again? And I think, like, if I was in his shoes, if I consider 1913, I believe it was like 1913 or 1910 or something like that, whatever his split was after Toad. If I consider like a pace that is around that, like if that is a good pace for him, and I'm like +5 on that, maybe +10, I would run with it for sure. But if I was like worse, I probably wouldn't run with it. I'd probably just reset and take my chances.
Well, we got 14 minutes left till we find out how Antlers feels about it. For now, both Krebel and Moniker are, I think, the deepest into their runs of the 5 still playing here in Dive Man. Looks like a 3 jump here for Moniker, but he knew he was going to be able to finish on the 3rd jump, so didn't have to land and then jump over, just went straight across. And then Krebel gets the kill on dive. What kind of pace are we on here?
Looks like his next few splits he doesn't have a time set for it, or does he? Oh, he does. Okay, great. He is ahead of pace. And I mean, the great thing about Krebel is any run that's ahead of his best run is maybe potentially PB pace too. So, yeah, I said it, Myth. I said it.
As a commentator, sometimes you got to say it. You are beholden to the viewers to say it.
0 gold.
Exactly. The viewers gotta know,
And if I'm being honest, the commentator curse doesn't exist. It's just confirmation bias, and it's not a thing. Moving on. Antlers is in Ringman stage. He is going ahead and sliding right into the enemy, taking the contact damage. So I think even if he turned around and took the hit, he'd still be in 1-shot range from Ringman's contact damage. So
correct.
Probably the play.
I believe he would have had 8 health, so that is not helpful. Jumping,
nice. Gotta be able to execute in those clutch moments. Antlers does, continues on this good pace. It's gonna be ahead here by a lot.
There we go.
Good bat.
All right, I think at this point he's probably feeling pretty good about it, and he's gonna run with it.
Yeah, you're not thinking about like, ooh, should I reset anymore? And you're like, no, this is, we're going.
Obviously, like if something bad happens in the next 12 minutes, well, might have to reset.
All right, you're pushing it now.
Nothing bad is gonna happen. All right. Antlers is gonna go ahead and get a 39. I'm calling it right now. That's the run. He's gonna get a 39 here.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Wow, that was like the fewest drops
Can't wait
I've
to
ever
find
gotten
out what
from those
Drillman's
guys.
gonna do to Crepplestar here. And Moniker's coming up right behind him on that section where he's trying to slide as much as possible to keep his flash stopper going. He's gonna refresh. Nicely done. And there's that Drillman fight. We are gonna get a dive.
No.
Ooh, and the missile didn't quite connect right off the bat, so he's opened the door for another dive, but doesn't get it. Nicely done.
I think the more concerning thing is by getting hit there, his health was a little bit low, but fortunately, because of the no dive situation, he was able to overcome.
Oh, what? fucking missile.
Oh, the missile. It can only turn like 45 degrees or whatever, right? So like even if it would rather turn 90 and go down, it can't. And so sometimes it gets stuck in these S patterns. And unfortunately it cost Moniker here another dive.
I don't question how the missile works, Myth. I only curse it.
Thinking drill, man.
It is cool. I like watching it move around though. Like it's fun.
It looks cool, but it isn't cool. Not at all.
This is the perspective of the person who's run the game and the person who's mostly commentated this. I'm like, well, you know, look at it though. It's fun, and you're like, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Double-toed man stage, Treble and Moniker. They've been pretty close for the past couple of stages here. Ooh, Treble didn't like what was going on towards the end of this section. Actually turned back on their slide.
Yeah, the tricky thing about sliding in the water in this stage screen over there is there's certain parts where the water is going against you, so you slide slower, and there's certain parts where the water is sliding faster. And the trickiest part is the ones that it's sliding faster is when you have to like jump off the ledge, and just being a little bit off there, you jump too late, you're just gonna end up like falling. You're just gonna slide off and you're gonna fall to your death. So that particular screen, the first screen and the second screen of Toadman, are very tricky and deceptively hard to kind of navigate through.
Wow, Treble's through, and is once you get to the boss fight, you're like, all right, I'm done with this stage. I can I can mentally check out here. The boss fight is not going to be a thing. So we'll see what kind of robo time we end up with. Did miss that opening shot though. You do typically want to detonate the drill to make sure that the explosion is there. So we were just under 19 minutes for the robo time. That's really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is pretty good pace. I'm just not gonna say anything else. It's
a
good,
really good pace. See what Moniker can come up with here. Their robo time is going to be just a tiny bit slower. 19:05:06.
Certainly solid. I think he'll gladly take that.
1916.
It's a shame that their timers are desynced by like 20 seconds or whatever. Because if they were matched up, they'd be like 10 seconds apart or something. It would be really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll get a much
Antlers is into Skull with -15. It's a fantastic pace.
Look at that. Everybody's on good pace right now. I love it.
Plus I burn out.
Slurpee's on good pace. 20 seconds into Pharaoh Man stage.
You know what? It's better than 0 seconds into Pharaoh Man. That's all I'll say. Oh, now it's worse. I mean, as much as Pharaoh Man is indeed faster than Bright Man, my goodness, it does get incredibly frustrating doing the first screen of Pharaoh Man with your Buster. Just the amount of not only mash that you have to do, but just reacting to the different Scorpion patterns, making sure you're sliding correctly, making sure you're charging your Buster right, because Mega Man 4 has very quirky Buster charge mechanics. It is a very difficult first screen, I say that as somebody who runs a Mega Man 5, and Starman is like one of the most difficult opening stages in a classic Mega Man game. Pharaoh, the first screen, is a giant pain in the butt.
Yeah, one of the big like tipping points I think for Bright vs. Pharaoh is probably using the balloons on Brightman stage, but the first screen of Pharaoh is like, a clear number 2 spike in difficulty, and one of the biggest reasons why players might go for Bright first. Here's Mothraia for Treble Star. Nice 3 hits starting there, but actually attacked just as the boss did. Was not able to connect, and then missed 1 or 2 others, but oh man, is not getting great luck on the timing of these attacks here.
Yeah, he may have to refill his ring ammo a little bit more than he expected to, but ultimately that shouldn't be too big of a deal.
Antler's turn. Really strong start. Had to wait for that projectile to go by. just being nice and careful, picking his spots.
Okay.
Oh, I think I said antlers, and I meant Monaco.
Don't
Is
worry,
now
we understood you.
1.8 seconds ahead going into Cossack 2.
It's actually you're looking at the gold column. His PB is actually 17 seconds ahead.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a good mistake I made. That good for him, I guess. All these people who kit out their live split with all these fancy features, and I'm just like, man, give me W split. Give me a number. Just like one fat number, you know? This is my time. Well, I say that, and then as a commentator, it's I don't know, it's really useful to be able to look at these things. If I can read them right.
Yeah. We are coming up to the 5-minute mark, so at this point, this is make or break for people. You know, this is the point where you decide, is this your run or are you resetting? Because you're really not going to have much time to reset again, I guess. Like, you know, you reset, maybe get to the first stage and figure out if that's what you want. So, I don't know. I think for a lot of the runners on screen, this is probably the run they're going to be keeping.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good to know that decision is looming over your head, right? Like you have to focus on what you're doing, and then also there's like this clock ticking, and you need to be constantly looking over and be like, what does it say now? It's a minute? It's 30 seconds? You know, it's very distracting. It's very like it can be kind of like taunting or menacing, hanging over you. It's not good. You don't want to be in that situation. Thankfully, most of these players have some pretty clear, good runs.
Unfortunately, Cribble taking a hit on the square machine and has to reset. I mean, it is fortunate that he is able to reset, but that has to sting. Monaco's able to get through.
A good stage.
A very good stage indeed. 34 seconds ahead of his PB. Dare I say it? Dare I say it, Myth?
That's a lot of seconds.
It is a lot of seconds.
Moniker's PB 39.46, I believe, set 2 months ago.
That is correct.
You can do the math at home.
It's true.
Come to your own conclusion. Great John done with Dust. Antlers done with Drill. Antlers was on that good pace, has kept it up mostly. Is losing a little bit of time here to Drill.
That's
still
totally
at 8.5
fine.
seconds.
Any run for him, well, I mean, at this point, he's pretty much running with this. But yeah, he's ahead of his 8 robot splits, even if it's a second. That's still really good for him.
So Kreble is back and bright here, has 3 minutes to, you know, it's not a lot. You maybe will finish Brightman stage like once, and then you'll get to see how your start of Pharaoh goes, and then you gotta make your decisions. So.
Fortunately, Great John did take a Death and Skullman stage, trying to do the zip. It looks like he's opting to continue instead of resetting. And with the 2-minute mark approaching, this is it. This is the break point.
Yeah, was 3.5 seconds behind going into the stage, and that was probably another 15, I guess. So
yeah.
Does he have 18, 19 seconds left to save throughout the rest of the run? Great John feels like yes. Yes, I do.
Looks like Kreble is through Brightman, so I imagine this is going to be his run. Short of something catastrophic in catastrophic in Pharaoh.
Antlers getting through the snail there. Am I wrong? That snails, they call him Gary? I didn't just make that up? I think they call him Gary. God, I hope I
Sure.
didn't make it up. Oh, no.
Let's go with it. You know what? You may be right, you may be wrong, but I don't care. I want to believe you're right.
Well, he's past him now. It's moving on to Toadman. It's going to finish him. I don't think it's going to be a sub-19 8 robos here. It's going to be close.
Oh, it's 1854 on the kill, so that is always nice.
Oh, wow.
Other time I played this
That boss
one, I didn't
is...
get the good pattern.
It's easier than I thought.
Sweet.
I thought it was easy, and it was somehow easier and faster.
All right, Mr. Cab says let's go with it for Gary the Snail. So there you go. You got Mr. Cab's approval.
Someone else does. If at least one other person does, then I know I'm not a crazy
Alright.
person who
It's
just
midnight
invented it.
Eastern Daylight Time, so
All right, so we are approaching that mark. 40 seconds left. This is it. Do they reset or do they keep going?
It's gonna be wild. We're gonna be all over the place, right? If everyone keeps the runs they have, we're gonna be in Cossack 1, and then Moniker's shortly gonna be in Wily 1. Treble's gonna be starting a brand new run. Great John's halfway through the Robos.
I like it.
And our friend Slurpee is currently in Dust. Minus 15 seconds. Was minus 45 at some point?
So I imagine there was a
After
little bit of a
Pharaoh?
death. Yeah, but right. Looks like he's okay with it. He's running with it. I think that's the right play by him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ahead, like, it's really hard to throw that away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, the timer has counted down, so we are officially out of time, which means every run you see on screen is the final run. They either keep it or they are done.
Looks like Slurpee has continued with their run on Dustman, too. All 5 players are locked in. Here's the Dr. Cossack catcher. Is having to improvise a little bit here, leading him all the way to the left side of the screen, and now has a lot of space to work with, so should be able to close it out here.
not bad, but not great. I had that weird stuff at the
All right.
beginning of the fight.
Moniker done with the Cossack stages. Was hoping for a little bit better, I guess, but is still ahead, looking solid. Antlers on Mothrai now.
Yep. Okay.
Missing 2 shots there.
That's okay. I think 1 or 2 shots is generally okay. More than that, you know, it's not the end of the world. You just have to pick up a little bit, probably a few more small energies at the Wily 3, or you might pick up a big energy somewhere along the route. So certainly not the worst in this setting, but obviously not ideal.
Yeah, and it's also like he was attacking like fast and constantly too, right? Like if you're being more careful and trying to pick your spots and then you miss, like it kind of hurts you more. But
Nice, got those
he was right back with another ring on each of those misses immediately, so
Ah,
kind of stemming the bleeding
Oh,
a
come
little
on.
bit, I guess.
come on, man.
Very interesting.
Cossack
Great John is ahead of his splits, so I guess that Skullman death, he must have had a death in his PB as well. So that's why he probably felt confident in continuing.
Slurpee still running. Yeah, wasn't Dust last I checked, and
There's so
probably
many
has
alive
moved
now.
on to no, just finished in Dust. Well, I guess with stream delay, you could consider them to still be in Dust if they were to suddenly appear. Travel onto the last section, or one of the later sections of Ring, I guess, when the disappearing floors are going the opposite way. Haven't seen too many players get kind of like behind where they need to be in order to deal with those, you know, and like you're forced to wait or drop down or whatever. Everyone's been pretty smooth through that section.
Ah,
Ringman fight cannot get hit. Can Treble start here? And this is the last run now.
We got Square Machine for Antlers, getting a 3 pattern for the first, 3 cycle for the first pattern. Let's see how he does with it.
Moniker on the Met Daddy here. I think that was only 4.
So we got a 3-2 for Antlers. Yeah, not the greatest luck, but certainly not anything out of the ordinary.
Monaker
taking a
needs one more
couple
hit.
hits.
Oh, doesn't quite get it.
Oof.
And the square for Antlers, okay, makes it happen.
It was close, but
I could have saved
His
like 5 seconds.
reminder that his splits are crazy, and he is not 6 minutes ahead.
no, he's definitely 6 minutes ahead. He's on world record pace,
One
everyone.
more hit on him earlier.
Yeah, he got good luck on Square Machine. That's just what happens. You just get the free world record. What was that dive missile for Great John? It never hit him at all. It did a figure 8 loop around Drillman and then just left the screen. Oh,
Now
boy.
you see why we don't like the missile myth.
Does get him down. We're gonna see what happens to Great John's pace here. Still ahead.
I like Bannock's in chat. The Mitzel. It's a good. Or that's what we're calling it from now
Oh
on.
yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. The TH double-S. I'm sure that'll catch on. You
See,
could
look
say
at that.
You could say the mythal.
Nice.
That,
Okay, we can say the
that
mythal.
Maybe.
Alright, we'll
Maybe.
call it the mythal.
Oh boy.
I
Look
should
at that,
encourage.
Myth. You don't even run the game, and you got a trick named after you now.
No.
I've always wanted a trick named after me.
It's not a good trick, but it's
No,
fine.
it's not. It's not a good one at all.
Huge mistake.
It's not even a trick, really. It's it would be a great stretch to call it a trick.
At least I didn't fall there again.
I have to keep reminding myself that Antlers is not 6 minutes ahead every time I glance over. at
You
his
can
split.
believe it.
Sure.
I want to believe it.
Let's all just believe it together, and then be very disappointed when he reaches Cossack 4. All right. Taco Trash from Moniker has had a pretty good run. Has been losing a bit of time here and there, but built up enough of a lead in the early game that
Come on.
is currently still sitting in a good position and looks good here behind Taco Trash with no hitbox.
It's okay.
That's
Looks like we're-
what, 38.1 seconds ahead?
Yep, that is correct.
I should
It's a
have been
really
able to
good
save
spot to
time
be
on that
in,
save.
especially this late into a
8
run.
seconds, that's a lot of time. That's a
Antlers
bummer.
getting that nice diagonal shot, but then just whiffed one of those shots there against the second of these roaches. Cleans it up pretty nicely. We're not going to know exactly what pace Antlers is on. I mean, I guess we know. It's 6 minutes. He's 6 minutes ahead.
It's a pretty good pace. I think if everything goes well in this next stage, he's probably around 30 minutes ahead.
It's about where he was last time before his amazing run was snatched from him by the Wily capsule.
Looking at moniker splits, his Wily 3 was very exceptional, especially for his skill level. So 442 is very above average. So we'll
Oh
see.
no, he's gone to Toadman, so he's gonna have to just switch to drill, I guess, and then improvise the rest of his route from here.
Not the worst thing in the world, but certainly goofy.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, this is so he wasn't one of the bosses where like you do two bosses with that weapon, right? Like it kind of just slots in wherever, into drill, into something else. So he shouldn't have to work too hard to correct his route here. It doesn't speak well to a player's confidence, though, that they just kind of went like, ah! It ended up in a completely different capsule. So we'll see if Moniker can kind of rein things in here.
Wow. Good job, Moniker.
Ooh, we got a very nice skull shield pattern though, the fastest. It's always nice.
Slurpy Ninja on screen here into Drill Man. I'm seeing some red numbers. 30 seconds behind. Has been in a much better spot than this on some previous runs, so it's a bit unfortunate that this is their last run. I think 30 is not out of the possibility of getting the PB, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his PB is a 39,
Oh, boy.
so definitely has
Don't lose any more time.
30 seconds to save.
Actually, I could, because I don't think he dove much for me last time. He might have. I don't
Great
remember.
John's Mothraia fight looked really good.
Got a pretty good run going on right now. 33 seconds ahead of his previous PB.
Antlers as well. Onto Wily 1.
So yeah, looks like 256, nearly identical to his last run. I believe it was 258.
Throws me off.
Moniker fighting Ringman now. His health is looking really good. We'll see if it stays that way. This is one of those fights where any small slip-up can cause you to eat contact damage, which is a healthy 8 chunk of 8 grains of rice off your health bar.
8 grains of rice, I like that.
They're all stacked up. Getting 1 suck here, so we're going to sacrifice some health to stop it and then pick up the refill.
Come on.
Despite the nervous entry into Toadman's capsule at the start, I think the rest of that looks pretty solid.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be losing some time over his previous split, but still ahead of his current best, so I'm sure he will be
He jumped a little bit too early and took 1 hit, and then it kind of got him out of phase, so had a bit of trouble finishing off the first phase there, but it's looking good so far. I think maybe should have took that 1 hit earlier, like lean into the damage boost a little bit, but there we go. Still a pretty good fight.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
This is looking at his splits. It looks like he is
That was a
26
long
seconds ahead.
26.1. Yeah.
That's a shame. It could have been easily saved. Or not saved,
Wow.
it could have...
You were saying, like,
been a time loss,
you were like, man, those refight, that timer, like, that was really good, like, really above his skill level, and now he's like, oh man,
gonna be sub
I can't
40.
believe I didn't save time on it. Like,
I mean, this is a point of reference. My best split ever on that is 434, and I have a 38. So 442 is pretty good for a skill level.
yeah, that's just speaks to how negative sometimes we can be about our runs. But let's see now. Now's not the time to be negative. Here comes Wiley. No chance for a double hit on that one. Here's one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Getting in
one
the
more
corner.
hit. Very
Nice.
nice.
All right.
40-13. A very, very
That's
solid
not
time
bad.
by Moniker. 17-17.
Yeah, that is going to be just enough to get ahead of Treblestar, actually.
Nice.
Actually, wait, I need to get the full view.
Yeah, Kerbal had a 40-36. Or excuse me, 40-26.
I'm watching
Yeah,
So-
and is just
here.
6 seconds off of beating Mad Mega, unfortunately. But still, 9th place is you're sitting pretty at this point. I think there's still a lot of runners left to play, but you're 9th, so
puts me
down to
at
32. That's
As of right now.
a long way to go. So I think Moniker's got a
Of course,
really
assuming
good
no one
shot
else
and
gets a really
moving on to the main tournament.
Good time. And here comes the end. Boom.
More runs active here.
All right. That was a shame on the refights. Mega Cat GG. All thanks everyone else for the GGs. Mew Mew, Iraqvet, Rift, Polytopes, LB Creed, Mr. Cab, Mr. Otter, Mr. Hot Dot, Great Gallus, Mellow Flows.
All right, so
ALM.
Antlers is going into Taco Trash, my favorite boss name in Mega Man history. Pretty
I
good
kept
pace.
seeing it
Well,
on the
that might be a solid
splits,
ninth
and then I thought it
place.
was like a nickname people gave him, but like, I guess it's just his name.
I mean, I understand the taco part because it's Tako, right? That would be, I believe, octopus in or squid, one or the other in Japanese. But why is it trash?
It's kind of like it's almost like it's got a trash chute at the top or whatever, but it's not like clearly garbage it's spitting out, right? Like it's not like Dustman's chunks of dust or whatever they are.
It's the burning questions that we'll never know.
Maybe Taco Trash just like gave himself the name, and it's like, come on now, Taco, you're better than that.
Oh, great job with the little swag there at the end of the Cossack 30, rather than getting on the last platform. He's like, no, I'm just gonna let the second to last platform go down. I'm gonna jump into that little thing over there. So I like.
Moving on to the boss fight now.
I really need to use the restroom.
Oh, so it looks like we're gonna get Crubble back on. So it looks like he's got a run going still, which is awesome.
Yeah, he had like one run basically, and this is it. And who knows if it would have just died in Bright or Pharaoh or whatever, but it did not. It has made it all the way past Toad here. As Slurpee's done with Mothraia.
Good.
Is still kind of at like 25-30 seconds behind, has been there for a long time, and the previous run just had too good a pace through these levels for Slurpee to really make a dent in. Refights now for Antler. Dive's not typically one of the refights you're worried about.
Oh my god, it's not good.
Did tink a skull shield there against Dive, but that's okay. You can afford one miss with the shield.
I think Antler's run is probably like the highest stakes of everyone who is on their final run. They are the furthest away from their PB. Like it stands to gain the most. And they were so close. They were so close before it went wrong on the capsule. So
that's fine though.
And I really just want to see this get closed out.
Ouch.
And you have to think about it too. Like if something were to happen and he can't finish this run, a 43. I mean, it's definitely no guarantee that he makes it into the top 32, which I'm sure would be extremely disappointing if they were not able to. So there's a lot of pressure on Antlers for sure.
Come on, dude.
Immediately gets the dive from Drill, but just keeps jumping to correctly time out, know how to make the most of when he comes back.
Nice.
And it ends up being only one dive.
That was a really good fight. Like his dive placements there was like extremely good.
Sometimes, like even in the face of bad RNG, if you can execute really well and kind of know that about how you did in that fight, it can be so much easier to accept the time loss from the RNG.
Okay.
Crubble having a bit of trouble hitting Mothraia here, but only 3 missed shots is not too bad.
Okay, that's fine. I was like, what?
Gets hit by Ring, but then kind of has to pick up the health refill anyway.
It's alright.
That's fine.
You know, most likely gonna end up picking up the dust refill too if Dust does the suck.
Or he might not. He might just not at all.
Or, doesn't.
No,
That's. That is.
Please stop, please. Oh
That is
boy.
very bad. Okay, he's gonna use
Are
the
you
refill.
kidding
yeah.
me?
It's.
Terrible
This is
RNG.
very unfortunate. Oh
my
my
God.
goodness, are you? This is.
Unbelievable.
5?
Yeah, that was 5.
Well, I had a shot at PB. Now I don't.
So he did say on stream that he did have a shot at PBing before that. So That's very, very heartbreaking, but it's okay because he still has a really good time potentially to get. Yeah, this is still possible to sub 40.
Yeah,
Definitely possible to sub.
he lost like 20 seconds or something, but he still has minutes over his last run, right? So he's still in a great spot here.
Yeah, it's gonna need a god capsule basically to get a sub 40, but it's certainly in play.
Starts with a good Wily machine, hasn't taken any damage. All his missiles were placed well. It's just like a some tiny hesitations waiting for projectiles to go by, but I don't think he could have played it much better than that.
That was so much time.
Okay,
Wow.
so with 3903, and we did watch Mr. Cab's stream, he had a 55 split, I believe, so he's gonna need a very, very above average Wily Capsule to get the 39. But honestly, like at this point, given what happened to him previously, I'm sure he's not caring about that right now. He just wants to finish this fight.
Yeah, he wants a capsule. He wants to say that the capsule is dead within the next 2 minutes or whatever. Like,
to be fair, the capsule was dead last time. He just was dead too.
you're not wrong. All right, here we go.
Oh god.
Man, this low 40 time is gonna start to get a little crowded, I think. Let's see if Antlers can join him here.
Okay. Yeah, he's not gonna be able to get the 40, the 39. But... Oh,
Really?
that's okay.
Wow. Okay, that was almost like right on the cusp. Instead, ugh.
4009.
All right. All right.
I take it after.
Still, he was able to clutch it out. I love it. Great job to Antlers. The last run of the day. Got that good PB over his previous best time. So, great job.
Right, like imagine the nerves, right? Like you've been so far behind your PB, everyone else has kind of got the run they were hoping to get, and you haven't. And now you've got one last run, and you were so close before you double KO'd on the capsule, and in spite of all that, Antlers comes through. Fantastic job.
Great job indeed. So yeah, I believe it was... I saw it on stream, I think, as a 40:09, but obviously we will get that retimed and see what the exact finish was. That will move him up into 9th place, I believe. So just passing Moniker there. So great job.
Yeah, that's true. We had the 4013 from Moniker just come in, and we were like, 9th place is looking good, but there are more people, and then another person showed up just barely, knocking Moniker out of 9th. But we'll probably stay in the top 10. I don't know. Slurpee Ninja still got an active run, is quite a bit behind, so it would take something phenomenal from them. They are still alive.
Yeah, I respect it. I mean, I imagine his time should be good enough to get him into the next round. So, maybe just trying to get a little bit more experience under his belt, get more familiar with the race-like setting of Mega Man 4, should he need to do this in his next match.
Yeah, for sure. And if it was like anyone else, I'd be like, it also counts a lot to be practicing playing under pressure, on a stage with a lot of people watching you. But in general, Slurpee Ninja's got his fair share of experience doing exactly that, but not in Mega Man 4, like you said.
And it does look like Krebel Star did bow out of his latest run and did not see what it was. Maybe it was a death, but in any case, he is done. So he is going to stick with his 40-36, which again, very respectable, especially compared to his PB. So GG's to him.
Do it better. Nah, I forgot to do
Absolutely.
it. Whoops.
Handlers, Moniker, and Krebel all clustered up in that 9 to 11 spot. Yeah, well, we kind of knew that going in there.
Yep.
PBs were like 10 seconds apart or whatever.
It's definitely what I expected, and yeah, I'm very, very glad this heat turned out the way it was.
I guess if anything, it's Slurpee Ninja who had a 39.55 and is sitting on a 41.38, who is now kind of
Getting close to
the furthest, I think, from the time they were maybe hoping to get.
my real PB pace.
Yeah, but even for Slurpee, I mean, 41-38. You're not extremely experienced with the game. You've only kind of just started running the game, so I don't even think 41-38 is something to be that upset about.
Wasn't even my best fights last time.
For sure.
You know, I'm sure you'll have at least a few more weeks until like the bracket round begins, so you know, get more experience with the game, get a better PB under your belt, and you know, who knows? You can be like the sleeper pick, you know, in the bracket phase.
Yeah, like in the time between now and even the end of qualifiers, I think you're going to see a marked improvement from Slurpee Ninja, and he'll just, I don't know, like Goku or something, he'll just get stronger and stronger as he plays more in the tournament. It could be really fun to see where he ends up.
It's gonna unleash his KO can on all of us. But meanwhile, Great John's on a pretty good pace. Looks like 43 seconds ahead, so that is awesome. Dare I say it, Myth? Maybe, if people do the math,
Maybe they would make a discovery
maybe.
about the kind of pace that Great John is on. Heading into the refights now. Pharaoh's jumping around, causing him to miss 2 shots. And he's also kind of stuck on the right side of the screen now, unfortunately. I think he wants the refill. Switching to Buster is not where you want to be.
That's alright. Not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, he definitely was very low on his dust ammo there, so rather than waste it and not have any for Skull, he opted to just Buster there.
I think it's in his head a little bit. Like he knows he's low on dust, and he's like, I can't miss, and then he hesitated on his shot and missed. All right, he does finish off Skull. Now Slurpee did have a gold on that previous split.
So yeah, it looks like he is still a minute over his current PB.
Yeah. I got a little excited because I thought maybe it was 10, like 10 seconds, and not 1 minute 0 seconds. That's just I don't know. It doesn't seem possible. I would love to see the impossible though, so we'll continue to root for Slurpee.
I'm always a fan of the impossible.
Great John took a bit of damage in that bright fight, so gonna go ahead and take the refill. On to Drill Man. He's just doing these little hops. I don't know if that's really gonna help you time out when he's gonna pop up at all.
Yeah, the time was always really finicky to me when I was running this game. You know, I didn't put a lot of time into this game. So it was definitely like little things like that, more nuanced things I could not get down. And I don't know what it was, but like no matter what sort of jumps I did, I could never quite get like that timing down.
Mm-hmm. It also helps to be jumping just because, like, you know, even if it's completely random where he pops out, like most of the time you're in the air, so he's not gonna come up right where you're standing. Ringman goes well. We didn't talk too much about menuing. There's a secret hidden skill when speedrunning Mega Man games and your ability to navigate the menus quickly, and it adds up in a very surprising way.
Go ahead, Myth. What's the secret?
Well, you kind of memorize the inputs. It's like a, you know, if this between these two capsules, it's right down or whatever, right? Like, and you just kind of have all those ready to go. It's mindless memorization, but it will save. Oh gosh, I don't know, between like kind of like amateurish menus and like top level menus, like I don't know, 20 seconds over the course of a run, maybe more.
It's definitely a very underrated aspect of speedrunning Mega Man game, and the menus can be quite complex. You know, sometimes it's just like a down or an up. Sometimes it's 4 downs and, you know, 1 left or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's very interesting. Like when like I'm doing like Mega Man 5 runs, and you know I'm getting really into it. Like I like hyperanalyze everything, right? And that includes like menuing. Menuing is like one of the most like frustrating things, especially when like you're just a little bit off. Being just a little bit off is like so like frustrating, I guess, with the menus.
Oh, he's low on health. Okay, going into the E-Tank. I like.
All right, so looks like he did lose a bit of time on the split, but still ahead.
That's my
So
actual
no
PB pace.
problem.
So he's sitting on a 43.54. Currently, the next closest is Waiter at 42.37, and that is not going to happen. But there's going to be more racers competing over the next few days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Look out for it! Exclamation mark schedule to find out exactly when. But as those times come in, they might be between Great John's old run and this run, and so this one it will make a difference, or will likely make a difference. Over the course of those runs coming in. So it is important to still do your absolute best.
Every second counts because you never know.
All right, here comes the capsule.
It's got plenty of Pharaoh, but gotta be careful about the health.
Oh, it's so frustrating when he's just like a little bit too high and you don't want to try to do a jump, so you just try to throw it on the ground and it doesn't connect. We've seen that a number of times today. One more hit.
Oh, oof.
Okay. Now he also has one more hit.
Oh no.
Oh, right on top.
Well, that's gonna do it, unfortunately, for Great John.
Wily Capsule claims another with 14 seconds left to go. That's not enough time to run it back, so it's not going to even play it out. It's just going to dance around a little bit in frustration here.
Was that 3 runs died to Capsule today? Good
It might be
lord.
4,
Oh, maybe.
Oh, you'll see.
but definitely 3 that I remember.
That's my good friend Baron Haynes has in his Mega Man 5 splits. He aptly names one of his stages the Widowmaker, and that's what Wily Capsule was today, the Widowmaker.
Well, Slurpy's still going here. I think I see a number 2 in the minutes column here on how far behind he is, which is not a good place to be.
Oh, I'll let you know when it happens.
Still gonna play it out though. I don't think we did good enough job of informing people that you can follow the runners. This command's going to spit out 4 names, and now I need to see which ones were left out. It was Crubblestar
And Mr. Cab.
and Mr. Cab 55. And I'll add those so that everyone knows where they can find these wonderful runners. I almost tried to do like a backslash for some reason, but there they are. You can follow these runners
Believe me, I will let you know.
if you liked what
when
you
it
saw, if
happens.
you want to see more.
Let's see in my dreams.
Nice short
wish-
skull shield there from
I wish
Skullman.
better.
I'm still trying to figure out who Slurpy's Ninja's Splits girl is. She looks familiar,
In my dreams.
but I don't remember where. But it is kind of fun to see everyone's whole stream layout.
Yeah, I appreciate the Mega Man Pusheen and the
That's
bottom
five and not
right
four.
over.
Oh, yeah, it was
I think Darko's probably got the best split situation. It's just a single timer with no splits, just the actual timer in a goofy font, and there's like a dog, like a little fluffy dog that barks, and
Yeah.
that's it. That's it.
The dog is the best.
I think the quality of your stream layout should affect your placement in the qualifiers. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So like,
Maybe
how
I'm
many
alone.
points? How many points do we give to like Slurpee, say, for for his layout?
Well, it's tough when you go with an anime girl, right? There's a stigma there.
Uh-oh.
So you gotta choose a good, tasteful one. The fact that I don't know this character is a good sign.
Okay. All right.
The little chonker down with the helmet on, the little cat with the little buster arm leg.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 1 billion points.
Okay.
And then the flower is like plus 10.
Cake.
So 1,000,000,010 plus minus Mysterious Anime Girl it's a pretty good score.
Okay, so basically he's in first place now, is what you're saying.
Yo, Clone Ranger. Tiger for qualifying.
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and rate the others, and then approach the moderators with my findings.
First the others. Ooh, with the double suck.
It's like a
His health is quite low, which is very unfortunate.
Not everyone's qualified.
And now he can't afford to get hit at all.
Oh no.
Yeah, doesn't want to approach any of these robot masters right now.
It's going to be a little bit rough heading into that final fight.
No, the best thing in the game
His
is
health
to
is
do
extremely low. He has enough ring, so he can afford to play it a
Getting
little bit
this
safe,
tank
but
thing,
getting hit at all in the first phase is going to make the second phase really dicey.
it's not though. It's
So I think he recognizes that and is playing this first phase a little safe here.
It's always kind of nerve-wracking because you have kind of an easier time of it by being close, but then you kind of have less time to react to when that projectile materializes with its full hitbox.
He can't afford to get hit.
He detonated one of those drills early.
All
Another
right.
one. Okay.
That was nerve-wracking. I mean, I understand that he's not gonna, set a better time, but he's obviously playing it because he wants to finish it out. So don't want to see a death.
That's good practice. Like, if he was in a situation where this would have been
the series. That's
a new PB, being able to kind of prove to yourself that, like, no, I can clutch it out in that situation, that matters a lot.
Dr. Wowie.
Onto the capsule. We've seen it, just how brutal and mean it can be. It's not too great on fair shot ammo here.
Should be okay as long as he knows how to play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what he's doing here. Oh, okay. He held it down. Very nice.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So GG to Slurpee, getting a 43.58. Unfortunately, is not going to improve his standing on the leaderboard, but that's okay. It was very nice to see him finishing out. So GG to.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, even on a run that's kind of dead. And so to be able to do so well, especially save 10 seconds on that final split there, is extremely well done. We're going to go ahead and, well, I guess we don't need to update Slurpee's time. So all the times for these 6 runners are locked in. At the top of this heat was Mr. Cab, 39.32, currently sitting in 6th place. Antlers with a sort of a later addition to this part of the leaderboard, but did get it in 40.09. Just below that, we have more players from this heat. Moniker 1717 with a 40.13. Treble Star with a 40.26. Slurpee Ninja had a 41.38 earlier. Great John, 43.54 after a number of improvements over the course of these 3 hours. And I hope I didn't miss anyone, because I think that's
Nope.
it.
Got them all. Good job.
Got really worried for a sec there. So, huge congrats to everyone for coming out. I think everyone played well. Lots of people got, within the kind of margin of error you would expect for this kind of event. Hopefully everyone can walk away happy with how they did.
Absolutely. And just to remind everybody, if you want to keep up with more of the Mega Man 4 qualifier action, this is not the last of the qualifiers. We still have 5 more heats to go. So if you liked what you saw, you want to see some more, then definitely tune in. Our next 2 heats are going to be on Friday, this upcoming Friday. The first one's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 10 p.m. CEST, if that's your thing. And the later one is going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 4 a.m. CEST.
And as for speed gaming, it looks like we're pretty much done for tonight. You're going to have to come back at 9 a.m. to see some HK Rando Lockout Bingo, Hollow Knight Randomizer Lockout Bingo on this channel, coming up in about 12 hours or so. But for now, Speed Gaming is done. For now, the Mega Man 4 Cossack Cup qualifiers are done. We'll see you next time.
Take care.